Apocalypse begins by collecting S.S.S level cards. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 126. Rest is complete. Set off again. After eating the sea queen clean, Qin Lang chopped her down with a sword. Point in the end times, the weak are eaten by the strong, and the fittest survive. Point in fact, Qin Lang did not have much hatred for the sea queen. He would kill her if he wanted to, and torture her if he wanted to. It was not worth it. Come here. Qin Lang hooked his finger at the scholar. The scholar was terrified, but he did not dare to resist at all, and came to the panel mirror obediently. Weapon exchange. Huh. Soul purification? You actually have 2 dark gold cards? Qin Lang could not believe his eyes. A small minion actually secretly strengthened 2 dark gold cards for himself. The scholar stammered. I got the second dark gold card by chance when I went out hunting some time ago, and I didn't tell anyone. What's the use of this card? Qin Lang did not recognize this card. At present, he only had 8 color card batteries left, not enough to store both dark gold cards. Soul purification can drive away evil thoughts. I have experimented with Xiaoli, but it doesn't seem to have any particular effect. The scholar answered honestly. Drive away evil thoughts? Question mark. Xiaoli, Qin Lang suddenly realized why Xiaoli looked innocent and almost stupid. It turned out that someone had secretly put a debuff on him. I want the weapon exchange, and you can keep the soul purification for yourself. Qin Lang stored the weapon exchange in the panel mirror and gave the scholar a dozen gold cards and a color card. Point. The scholar was stunned when he saw what he had in his hand. This is for me. The shelter cannot be without a master for a day. You will be the boss of the Sunfire shelter in the future. Manage the shelter well, and don't let me down. Qin Lang said this, but he didn't think so in his heart. If the color card battery was not gone, and there was no way to store soul purification, he would not bother to care about the life and death of the shelter in this situation. The only way is to temporarily stabilize the scholar and let him manage the shelter. After he gets the battery, he will come back to save the dark gold card. Do 003. Qin Lang didn't care about the color card, but he had to get the dark gold, especially the functional dark gold with a very high upper limit. Boss, from now on, my life is your life. The scholar was grateful and knelt down to show his loyalty. Point. Qin Lang asked him to stand up. Call all the captains of the shelter and some people you trust. I will help you build a team. I will leave soon. I can't let you go hungry. Yes. The scholar turned and left. When he came back, he brought more than 20 people with an average combat power of only more than 4,000. Point. To put it bluntly, this kind of combat power can only be regarded as a relatively large ant in the 4th stage of the apocalypse. If you encounter an elite monster, you will definitely die. If you want to live a comfortable life in the 4th stage, you must have at least more than 10,000 combats, and it is best to have a frontal chain. Qin Lang spent more than half an hour to rebuild the skills and talents of these 20 people, basically focusing on the scholar himself. Originally, the scholar had only 0 combat power, but after Qin Lang's help, the combat power soared to 13. Qin Lang also spent a lot of money for the dark gold card. I am much stronger than before. I can feel that my whole body is full of strength. The scholar's eyes were red with excitement. Qin Lang looked at him with a smile. Attack me with all your strength. Don't leave any tricks behind. The scholar was stunned for a moment. Huh. It's okay. I'll test your strength. The scholar pursed his lips, and a hint of viciousness appeared in his eyes. Well, okay, boss, I'm coming. As he spoke, the scholar picked up the long sword fiercely. This chapter is not finished. Click on the next chapter to continue reading. Chapter 126. Rest is over. Set off again and stabbed forward. The strong airflow formed a tornado that blew away the surrounding corpses. Dang. However, the next second an unbelievable scene happened to the scholar. Qin Lang did not move. A layer of silkworm pupa formed by black gas surrounded him. The golden sword broke into pieces when it was cut on it. Boss, how much is your combat power? The scholar was inexplicably horrified. He just naively thought that he could take the opportunity to kill Qin Lang. You can see it by yourself. I have closed the hidden, Qin Lang said lightly. The black silkworm pupa faded and showed a bright smile. Ding. The scholar pressed the combat power detector and looked at the number of 50,000 on the combat power detector. His legs softened and he knelt down to Qin Lang again. Boss, you are too strong. The scholar no longer dared to have any small thoughts. As long as you follow me wholeheartedly, you will be as strong as me sooner or later. But if you want to betray me, I will not blame you, as long as you can accept the consequences. Qin Lang deliberately let the scholar fight with him, and deliberately showed his combat power, in order to shock the scholar, so that the boy would not have any unreasonable thoughts. A typical example of hitting someone with a stick, and then adding a sweet date, and making a big promise at the same time. Boss, I will never betray you even if I die. Get up. Qin Lang asked the scholar to get up. I will leave tomorrow to hunt nearby. You help me keep an eye out for some cards. I will buy them back at a high price. Here is the list. Qin Lang asked the scholar to get up, handed the card list to the scholar. If you do a good job, I will use resources to focus on training you. I don't have much else, but there are plenty of dark golden color cards. Boss, please rest assured, I will definitely keep an eye out for you. The scholar nodded repeatedly. Put the communicator away. This communicator has a positioning function. If you encounter danger, contact me immediately. I won't go too far. Yes. After explaining the scholar's side, Qin Lang went directly to the Queen's palace and searched it. As a result, except for thousands of blue and green cards, there was nothing else of value. Think about it. In this apocalyptic wasteland, where death can occur at any time, who wouldn't use good cards immediately? Boss, when Qin Lang was lying on the bed with his eyes closed and meditating, the scholar contacted him through the communicator. What's the matter? Well, it's like this. After hearing about your deeds, there are several very beautiful girls in the shelter who admire you very much. If you need to sleep with them, I will send them to you right away. Do you think that I'm an emperor? Qin Lang smiled lightly and said, bring people in. Yes. The scholar was overjoyed and said to the three girls around him, serve me well. If the boss is not satisfied at all, I will make your life worse than death. The three innocent looking girls nodded hurriedly. We will definitely serve you well. Early morning, Qin Lang left the Sunflame Sanctuary and continued hunting. The scholar looked at the three limp female college students on the bed, with a satisfied smile on his lips. He had been secretly raising these three female college students. He originally planned to enjoy them for himself, but unexpectedly they came in handy. You will live here from now on. If you are missing anything, just tell me. The three girls looked at each other with expressions of surprise. Thank you, Captain. Don't thank me. If you want to thank me, thank the boss and your own hard work and dedication. Chapter 127 Pale Blood Corpse and the Secret Realm of Beast Fighting. Blood slid down his forehead, across his cheeks, and fell on the cracked ground. In the city that had long been reduced to ruins, a young man was running away. Not far behind him, a pale bloody corpse was chasing him. Damn it, are you done yet? Qin Lang couldn't help but yell. I just took a weapon from you, so you didn't have to chase me for 3 days and 3 nights. Ah. There was no expression on the rotting face of the pale bloody corpse. He just raised his hand slightly, and a black hole appeared in the air 100 meters away. As the black hole exploded, a crater with a diameter of 100 meters appeared on the ground, which was as powerful as an intercontinental missile. Qin Lang, who was unfortunately affected by the bomb, broke an arm, and was thrown away. He endured the severe pain caused by the broken arm, and took out the 26th motorcycle vehicle card, rode on it, and started a new round of desperate running. Why Qin Lang was so embarrassed? The story started a few days ago. After leaving the Sunflame Sanctuary, Qin Lang embarked on a journey alone. He had 26,000 physical combat power, but with the blessing of the Lone Ranger, it became 52,000 combat power. It can be said that he swept all the monsters on the surface of the 4th stage. Even if he encountered a wave of monsters, he did not panic at all, firing more than a dozen rounds. After the holy sword is cut, the next thing to do is to pick up the card. Because the hunting process was too smooth, and he was victorious in every battle, Qin Lang made a mistake that everyone would make: carelessness. 3 days ago, Qin Lang entered a cave to explore. During the exploration, he found a pale-faced bloody corpse in front of him, patrolling with an extremely gorgeous ice sword. He didn't even think about it, and he didn't even conduct a combat strength test. Casually picked up a branch and exchanged weapons with the other party. When the ice sword was successfully transferred to his hand, the pale bloody corpse was also angered. In a flash, he came in front of him and punched his ribs. So fast that there is no chance to use the touch of darkness. Fortunately, Qin Lang was well prepared and immediately threw out dozens of explosive mushrooms. Frozen mushrooms, smoke mushrooms, etc. were used to control the field. Taking advantage of the moment when the pale blood corpse was briefly controlled, he vomited blood and ran out. After finally reaching the surface, Qin Lang scanned it with the combat power detector and found that the pale blood corpse's combat power reached 99. Qin Lang was almost frightened and ran away, but everything happened before. The pale blood corpse chased him for 3 days and 3 nights. From time to time, he would charge up a black hole and launch an indiscriminate attack on a large area. Qin Lang himself has a super recovery level 2, and his body recovers very quickly, and he can recover quickly from broken hands and feet. However, the motorcycles could not withstand such an attack. In 3 days, 25 of them were scrapped. That is to say, the Qin Lang family has a great cause. If it were another survivor, he would have died 3 days earlier. But even so, Qin Lang was still in dire straits. Under the high-intensity escape, he had consumed nearly 70% of his strategic supplies. If he hadn't grown a lot of mushrooms before, he would have died of exhaustion or starvation. While escaping, he had no chance to eat. There's only half a day's worth of edible mushrooms left. If this continues, I'm really going to get cold. Qin Lang glanced back at the pale bloody corpse who always kept a distance of 200 meters from him, with large beads of sweat leaking from his forehead. During these 3 days, he tried every means to outwit the pale blood corpse, but failed without exception. In the face of absolute power, all strategies seemed so ridiculous. The new round of chasing lasted for another half day, and it was already dark. This chapter is not finished yet. Click on the next chapter to continue reading chapter 127, Pale Blood Corpse and Beast Fighting Secret Realm. The roar of the pale bloody corpse came to my ears, and it seemed to be getting closer and closer. How on earth can we get rid of this damn thing? While Qin Lang was brainstorming and thinking about countermeasures, a bright light appeared not far away. Qin Lang drove the motorcycle with one hand and raised a telescope with one hand to look at it. He couldn't help but feel happy. It turned out to be a secret realm, and the shining thing was the gate of the secret realm. There is no way out despite the mountains and rivers, but there is another village with dark flowers and bright flowers. Help. Qin Lang threw 5 frozen mushrooms. These blue mushrooms formed a mushroom ray and exploded the moment the pale blood corpse stepped in, freezing it completely. However, the next second, the body of the pale blood corpse began to tremble and kept freezing. The ice and snow on the body's surface shook open. It was obvious that an attack of this level could not harm it at all and could only control the field for a short time. Taking advantage of these few seconds, Qin Lang successfully distanced himself from it and sprinted towards the secret realm, the secret realm of the Colosseum. A few minutes later, Qin Lang arrived at the scene. He threw away his motorcycle, took out his mobile phone, and pointed it at the stone monument to take a few photos, and then dove in point. Since the time in the secret realm is different from reality, when Qin Lang opened his eyes, he found that it was still daytime here. There are dense trees all around, the tallest reaching more than 10 meters. Qin Lang did not act rashly. He immediately took out his mobile phone and checked the rules through Photo Secret Realm. Colosseum Rule 1. No external cards may be used. Rule 2. No loud noises. Rule 3. You cannot leave the secret realm with more than 5 cards. Rule 4. Cross-class attackers will be punished. This is for a low-level secret realm with rules. After keeping these rules firmly in mind, Qin Lang continued to look down. After entering the Colosseum, participants are automatically divided into 5 camps according to their combat power, namely elephant, tiger, leopard, cat, and mouse. The restrained relationship between them is elephant-tiger. tiger leopard, leopard cat, cat mouse, mouse elephant. This is a rule of the beast chess. Qin Lang's eyes lit up. He often played this game when he was a child. The superior can only attack the restrained one. This is very easy to understand. The difficult part is how to determine the identity of the other party. If you attack randomly and get punished, it will be terrible. I am probably in the elephant camp. Just be careful of the mouse camp and you will be fine. While Qin Lang was thinking, a voice sounded in his ears. Known elephant camp participants, 5 people. Tiger camp participants, 19 people. Leopard camp participants, 48 people. Cat camp participants, 117 people. Mouse camp participants, 344 people. Updated every half an hour. Hiss, so many people. Qin Lang took a breath. The number of people in the secret realm far exceeded his imagination, and what made him most uncomfortable was that the tiger camp he restrained had only 19 people, while the rat camp that restrained him had 344 people. How could he play? This is too unfair. Qin Lang waved his fist angrily, but was immediately amused by his own words. There was no fairness in peacetime, so where would there be fairness in the end of the world? Please, don't kill me. Suddenly, a man begged for mercy not far away. The voice was not loud, but it just reached Qin Lang's ears. He followed the sound and touched over. He saw a blond man looking arrogantly at a yellow man covered with bruises. Goodbye. Chapter 128 Hunting Ground. The use of external cards is not allowed here. How will you eat and drink? Kill the monsters here. This secret realm is very big and there are many edible creatures. Big brother, you saved me. I'll give you this piece of pork steak. As he said this, Zhao Zixin took out a piece of blackened pork steak from his arms and handed it over past. It's all moldy and mushrooms are growing. Do you want to poison me? Qin Lang rolled his eyes at him. Ah, that's not what I meant. Zhao Zixin waved his hands hurriedly and said in a low mood, the large hunting grounds are guarded by people. I'm lucky. I pick up the leftovers of others. It's good to survive. How can I dare to pick? Choose from 3. Qin Lang refused to comment and walked deeper into the dense forest. Zhao Zixin hurriedly jogged to keep up. Time passes much faster in the secret realm than in the outside world. It was clearly daytime when we came in, but it was already dusk. Qin Lang's stomach growled with hunger. There are a large number of supply cards in the storage space, but unfortunately they cannot be used, so we can only worry. There is only one way left in front of Qin Lang. Find the other 4 tigers and kill them, take their identity cards, and then go to the altar to leave the secret realm. But as Zhao Zixin said, in this secret realm, no normal person would reveal his or her identity unless it was a matter of life and death. Their identity can only be judged by their living habits. Living habits? Yes. Zhao Zixin nodded, because there are very few secret realm phenomena. Most people with tiger status choose to act alone. Cats and mice, although there are many in number, are weak in strength, so they usually choose to hug together to keep warm. I know there is a rat camp nearby, and there are several people with leopard identities guarding it. Brother, do you want to go and take a look? Why, do I look sick? Qin Lang rolled his eyes in his heart. He wasn't too worried that the other party could kill him, but he couldn't bear the feeling of being beaten passively without being able to fight back. Zhao Zixin smiled awkwardly. Soon it was completely dark. Qin Lang found a relatively secluded place to rest. He was hungry and clearly felt that his strength was draining away. This is the disadvantage of having too high combat power. You must eat high quality food every day to replenish your energy, otherwise you will starve to death due to malnutrition. After dawn, you must go hunting. Fill your stomach first, otherwise you can't fight. Qin Lang took a deep breath and closed his eyes. No words were spoken that night, and the next morning, Zhao Zixin took Qin Lang to the hunting ground he mentioned. Looking from a distance, there were indeed traces of human activities nearby. In the distance, dozens of men and women were chasing a strange-looking cicadea. Why is it strange? Because this cicadea has 3 heads, and the antlers on each head are shining like coral. 3. Dear, this is gold level food. Zhao Zixin turned his head and said, brother, what do you mean? Qin Lang was so hungry that his head was dizzy, and his brain seemed to be frozen, and he couldn't function normally at all. Yes, the group of people chasing the deer are mice at first glance, and the ones guarding them are cats, and the ones farther away are leopards. That person. Zalzixin raised his hand and pointed. There was a black woman sitting near the hunting ground. All the leopards were far away from her, with alert eyes. She should be a tiger, nearly 100%. Qin Lang licked his lips. At this time, the 3 deer were seriously injured and were about to be captured. You will do as I say later, Qin Lang swallowed hard. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 129, Real Tiger, Fake Tiger. In the hunting ground, 3 deer that were chased and blocked by dozens of people finally couldn't hold on and fell into a pool of blood. The crowd cheered, but just as they were about to go forward to divide the deer meat, the cat-like men and women stopped them. Hey, are there any rules? How to divide it and how much to divide is up to you. I think you can't tell the difference between the big and small kings. All get out of here. One of the women raised her mouth, very satisfied with the expressions of the mice who were frightened and scared, but couldn't do anything about her, and turned to the others and said, Brother Long, well, you did a good job. As usual, we will divide half, and you will distribute the rest. Yes, Brother Long. The middle-aged man called Brother Long took out a sharp machete, chopped the deer into 2 pieces in a few strokes, and then carried the upper body of the deer towards the black woman. The hunting ground with only a few dozen people was forcibly divided into 4 classes. 3 deer heads belong to me, and you can share the rest. The black woman waved her hand. Okay, thank you, boss. Brother Long and his friends were overjoyed, and suddenly a voice came from behind them. If I also want to share, do you have any objections? Under the gaze of everyone, Qin Lang brought Zalzixin over. The black woman's pupils condensed. Who are you? Why do you share my prey? Why? Qin Lang smiled and said, just because I'm a tiger, is that enough? When they heard that Qin Lang was a tiger, Brother Long and his friends retreated several meters in fear. As leopards, what they fear most is encountering a tiger, especially a strange tiger. The black woman raised her eyebrows. Stop talking nonsense. I know all the people with tiger identities. You said you are a tiger. Do you have any evidence? It seems that you don't believe it. Then I must prove myself. Qin Lang. He looked at Brother Long and his men with ill intentions. He moved his wrists and said, leopards, right? I'll start with you. Boss, help. Brother Long's face turned blue with fear. He hurriedly cast a look of help to the black woman. The latter hesitated for a moment and suddenly said, well, forget it. Anyway, we have a lot of food. Whether you are a real tiger or a fake tiger, we will give you a portion. Qin Lang grinned and released the black tentacles to directly cut off half of the venison. This scene made Brother Long and others dare not speak out. There was nothing they could do. Who made this young man have a higher status than them? Their life and death were in his hands. Hey Mei smiled and said, friend, what's your name? Qin language. Okay, if you have any news about the 5th elephant, come to the southern camp to find me. Don't worry, I will never treat you unfairly. My name is Lisa. Qin Lang wanted to leave, but he stopped when he heard this. He asked curiously, why, do you know the news about the other 4 elephants? Of course, the only one who can pose a threat to us in the secret realm is the elephant identity. We must investigate it in advance. We tiger identity people have formed an alliance long ago. Lisa's eyes flashed with a trace of doubt. Why don't you know anything? Did you just come in? Qin Lang spread his hands. You found all this? Yes, I just came in a few days ago and was confused. Fortunately, I caught a leopard and let him lead the way. Otherwise I wouldn't even know where this hunting ground is. Qin Lang put his arm on Zalzixin's shoulder, and Zalzixin cooperated very well with a fearful expression, and lowered his head. Zalzixin, right? A man in Brother Long's team recognized Zalzixin's identity. This chapter is not yet finished. Click on the next chapter to continue reading chapter 129. Real tiger, fake tiger. No wonder I felt familiar with you, boss. He is indeed leopard. Lisa smiled, and her previous doubts disappeared with Zhao Zixin's identity confirmed. Okay, let's keep in touch at any time. If you don't understand anything, you can ask me. I have been in this secret place for more than half a month. Lisa handed a communicator to Qin Lang and asked everyone to leave. Qin Lang had a lot of questions to ask, but the most important thing at the moment was to fill his stomach, so he didn't say anything and hurriedly left the hunting ground with Zhao Zixin. Soon after, a bonfire was lit in an open space in the forest, and the venison wrapped in thick fat was roasted to be crispy on the outside and tender on the inside, with a fragrant aroma. The fat fell into the bonfire and made a sizzling sound. Brother, you eat first. Zhao Zixin was a man who knew how to handle things. He handed a piece of venison that was cooked to the right degree to Qin Lang's hand. Qin Lang smelled the venison and took a bite. The venison, which was full of fat, was quite chewy. Qin Lang was sweating all over after eating it. The fatigue of the past few days disappeared with the eating. It's a pity that I can't use the card, otherwise I would have some beer, which would be great. Qin Lang sighed while wolfing down the food. Brother, if you want a drink, I just happen to have some, but it's white. Seeing Zhao Zixin trying to touch the card, Qin Lang smiled and stopped him. I'm just talking, don't take it seriously. Just kidding, this is a secret realm, not an unwoo. How could Qin Lang drink something that would affect his reaction and judgment? A large piece of venison was quickly eaten up by the two. After eating and drinking, Qin Lang rested under a tree. Suddenly the communicator rang, and Qin Lang answered. Lisa, /U003E something happened. Charlie is dead, killed by the fifth elephant. Lisa's voice was very nervous. Do you want to come over and join us to discuss how to deal with him? Is it a conspiracy to ask me to join you? Or? Qin Lang thought for a while. Okay, send me the location. I'll go there right away. Okay. Lisa quickly sent a location. Zhao Zixin worriedly said, brother, this is not right. Once you go to their camp, your identity will definitely be exposed. Why? Qin Lang looked curious. Zhao Zixin said, any camp will have a very complete inspection system to prevent unidentified people from sneaking in. For example, when checking your identity, let the person with the rat identity attack you. Once you react, your identity will be exposed naturally, isn't it the rule of the secret realm that you can't attack people who are not restrained? Rules are dead, but people are alive. Besides, there are so many guys with the rat identity, who cares if a few die? This is really a bit difficult. Qin Lang closed his eyes and thought, if Zhao Zixin hadn't reminded him, he would definitely be exposed. After thinking it over again and again, Qin Lang decided to break the appointment. The fewer people who knew his identity, the better, so that he could keep pretending to be a tiger. First, find a place to earn some cards. Do you know where there are many monsters? I know that. There is a swamp to the north. There are a lot of monsters there, but, Zhao Zixin worriedly said, that is the territory of the witch. The witch is an elephant and has recruited several tigers to work for her. That's better. Let's go over and discuss the alliance. Qin Lang grinned. Don't worry, eyelines protect you. Chapter 130 Swamp Witch. When you are born in water, it is not easy to become an elephant. The threshold combat power is 15. Are you confused? You were the one who copied mine. Do you still remember that one time in an exam, you my name on it? The teacher was confused. Ah. You annoying? Li Guoguo punched Qin Lang angrily. While the two were talking, the slime was successfully taken down. The man holding a giant axe came over and handed the card to Li Guoguo's hand. Li Guoguo introduced. This is Qin Lang, and my relationship is like a brother and sister. This is my classmate, Hefan, who is also the second in command of my shelter. Hello, Qin Lang loves Wujiwu and takes the initiative to shake hands with Hefan. However, Hefan obviously had a deep hostility towards Qin Lang and ignored it. He said to Li Guoguo, Guozi, don't forget that this is the end of the world and everyone will change. Even the childhood sweethearts of the past may have become the same now. Evil people. Never underestimate the evil side of human nature. Li Guoguo frowned and said, Laohi, don't talk nonsense. Laokin treats me just like his biological sister. He can't change anyone. That's not necessarily the case. Hefan raised his eyebrows. Li Guoguo smoothed things over and said, "Old Qin, don't be like old he. He is not bad, but he has been stimulated, and his temper has become very weird." Qin Lang nodded to express his understanding. There is no need for him to argue with a little guy, as this will make him look very clueless. Let's go to my camp, and let's have a good chat. I'm so curious about how you survived during the last days. Li Guoguo smiled and held Qin Lang's arm. Oh my god, there are so many things I want to ask. I don't know where to start. It's okay, I will tell you whatever you want to know. /U003CBR/U003 either. To left talking and laughing. Seeing this scene, a trace of complicated emotions flashed in He Fan's eyes as the king of the northern swamp. Li Guoguo's camp was naturally not too far from the swamp, and he walked back for more than 10 minutes. There were dozens of people in the camp, with 5 identities, and they had a harmonious relationship with each other. This indirectly showed that Li Guoguo had strong organizational skills. Come on. Let's eat and talk, Li. Guoguo threw a pile of food cards on the table and sat opposite Qin Lang in a duck sitting posture. I remember you liked to sit like this when you were a child. Because of this, you were often scolded by your aunt, saying that you didn't sit well. Qin Lang joked. Li Guoguo smiled bitterly. You still remember it? Sometimes I really miss the days when my mother nagging me. You have me in the future. I will protect you, just like when we were children. Okay, Li. Guoguo opened 2 bottles of beer and handed one to Qin Lang. Take one first. Come. That day. Li Guoguo and Qin Lang never left the cabin again. The two talked for a long time and completely forgot the time until noon the next day. Li Guoguo turned her head and looked at Qin Lang, who was sleeping beside her. I didn't expect you to build your own shelter. After we get out, what do you think about us integrating the shelters together? That's great. I couldn't ask for more. However, the most urgent task now is to find a way to leave the secret realm. It's easier said than done. As far as I know, people with tiger identities have formed an alliance, calling themselves the Tiger Alliance, and they have also raised many people with rat identities to guard against our 5 elephants. Li Guoguo shook her head. She also wanted to go out, but she couldn't, because she couldn't kill anyone. Chapter 131 Rebellion. You mean you've been trapped for a month and haven't killed a single tiger? That's not true, but I only killed one and took his identity card. Li Guoguo took out a tiger identity card. Qin Lang smiled and took out the Charlie one. You have to get 8 before you can leave. Is there no other way to leave the secret realm besides completing the secret realm mission? You're so awesome. You've managed to kill a tiger just a few days after coming in. Actually, there is another way to leave the secret realm, but this is undoubtedly a fantasy. Li Guoguo shook his head and told the information he had. Qin language. Further north, there is a Colosseum. As long as you can clear all the challenges in the Colosseum, you can leave. Not only that, but there are also extremely rich rewards. The reason why it is called a fantasy is because the monsters in the Colosseum are very terrifying. An elephant once tried to challenge it, but he was killed just after reaching the 2nd level. No bones were left, and outside cards could not be used. Under the circumstances, everyone's combat power was reduced to the extreme. If you find that you can't defeat the monster halfway, can you give up? Qin Lang closed his eyes and pondered. Of course you can, but you will be punished by the rules. According to the number of levels passed, the strengthened cards in the challenger's body will be randomly selected. The more levels passed, the fewer cards will be drawn after giving up. Seeing that Qin Lang seemed to be really thinking about the possibility of clearing the Colosseum, Li Guoguo advised, if you don't have enough strength, I don't recommend challenging the Colosseum. The most important thing is that the environment in the secret realm is very good, although the number of monsters is not high enough. It's a lot, but it can break even. The secret realm does not exist forever. Have you ever thought about what if it is closed one day? All the people in the secret realm will die. Qin Lang said seriously, this is the end of the world, and you will only be eliminated. Li Guoguo sat up and said, do you really want to challenge the Colosseum? I want to try. Okay, if you make up your mind, I'll give you all the cards I've saved these days, Li. Guoguo took out a large pile of cards from the storage ring, including guns and ammunition. Each card, regardless of level, had a special pattern on the back of the card to distinguish between ordinary cards and secret cards. The card was given to me. What about you? If you want to leave, let's go together. I can't leave. I still have so many friends who have come all the way with me. It was my suggestion to enter the secret realm. How could I leave by myself and leave them here? Li Guoguo said without thinking. I know you are kind, but this is the end of the world. Qin Lang pinched his eyebrows and said, forget it. Whether to leave or stay, we will discuss this later. You take me to the Colosseum first. Even if I want to challenge the Colosseum, I have to make sufficient preparations. I can't even knot a single handy weapon. The handy weapon? You mean the color card level? Yes, this is the minimum standard. Sword weapons fit my fighting style. Qin Lang has such a character. He is reckless when he should be reckless and steady when he should be steady. Even if he has enough confidence in his combat power, he still wants to be foolproof, sword-like. Colored card weapons. I know where to find them, but Li Guoguo shook her head. I can't get them. They're in Lisa's hands. Lisa? Are you talking about that black girl with a tiger identity? Didn't you just come in? How come you even know Lisa? Li Guoguo was speechless. Is such that Qin Lang told how he deceived Lisa and how Lisa invited him to the camp. Li Guoguo suddenly realized it and immediately showed joy. I can call He Fan to help if you sneak in. He is an illusionist who can temporarily change your identity into a tiger and the other party will never be able to detect the authenticity. That would be so convenient. Qin Lang nodded. This trip to the northern swamp was so worth it. Not only did he find his childhood sweetheart, he also learned the second way to leave the secret realm of fighting beasts, and now he even figured out how to disguise his identity. The two immediately found He Fan and informed him of their plan. He Fan agreed. There is absolutely no problem with this. Guo's friends are my friends. When you plan to go to the camp, I will go with you. The tiger identity can be said to be the most unscrupulous existence in this secret realm because there are too few people who can restrain them. As long as they have a good relationship with one or two of the elephant identities, they are basically invincible. Without further ado, I will reply to Lisa immediately and we will set off now. By the way, I have a friend named Zhao. I will bring him to your camp. After arranging everything here, Qin Lang and He Fan went to Lisa's camp point. Since the time flow rate in the secret realm is much higher than that in the outside world, it is not a long way. Qin Lang and the others walked for a day and a night point. The smoke from the cooking pots curled up in front, which was obviously where the camp was. You want to go in with me? Well, I know Lisa. To tell you the truth, I'm actually a member of the Tiger Alliance. I know this. The current ecological environment of the secret realm is very delicate and harmonious. Everyone does not invade each other. He Fan briefly explained a few words and cast a disguise illusion on Qin language. The duration of the camouflage illusion is 30 minutes, which is enough to handle the inspection. Well, let's go in. Qin Lang sent Lisa a message telling him that he was at the door. Soon Lisa went out with a dozen of her subordinates to greet him. After seeing He Fan, Lisa was a little strange. Why are you here too? He Fan smiled and said, long time no see, boss Lisa. I bring you your blessings. I hope we can continue to coexist peacefully in the future. Lisa smiled, showing her white teeth. It is naturally best if we can coexist peacefully. The end of the world is already very cruel. Who is willing to kill each other if it is not a last resort? Mr. Qin, please come in. Following Lisa into the camp, Lisa pointed to a man next to her and said, it's a routine inspection. Mr. Qin won't mind. Of course not, whatever. Qin Lang opened his arms and allowed several men to examine him. One of them scratched Qin Lang's arm with a sharp nail, and blood really flowed out. Lisa nodded with satisfaction and led Qin Lang into the meeting hall. The second in command, Brother Long, wanted to follow, but Lisa waved her hand to stop him. I want to talk to Qin alone. I know, boss. Brother Long stepped aside angrily and said flatteringly, bossy. As a leopard, he was very respectful to He Fan. He Fan said expresslessly, immediately, gather all the people with rat identities here. Brother Long was stunned. Huh? Why? He Fan said coldly, Qin Lang is an elephant, and all this is his conspiracy. Wah, what? Is he an elephant? Brother Long was shocked, but the inspection just now I helped him add an illusion disguise. Why don't you do it right away? Do you really want to watch your boss being killed? You mean you have been trapped for this month and haven't killed any tigers? That's not true, but I only killed one and took his identity card. Li Guoguo took out a tiger's identity card. Qin Lang smiled and took out the Charlie card. I have to get 8 before I can leave. Is there no other way to leave the secret realm besides completing the secret realm mission? You're so awesome. You've managed to kill a tiger just a few days after coming in. Actually, there is another way to leave the secret realm, but this is undoubtedly a fantasy. Li Guoguo shook his head and told the information he had. Qin Lang point further north. There is a Colosseum. As long as you can clear all the challenges in the Colosseum, you can leave. Not only that, but there are also extremely rich rewards. The reason why it is called a fantasy is because the monsters in the Colosseum are very terrifying. An elephant once tried to challenge it, but he was killed just after reaching the second level. No bones were left, and outside cards could not be used. Under the circumstances, everyone's combat power was reduced to the extreme. If you find that you can't defeat the monster halfway, can you give up? Qin Lang closed his eyes and pondered. Of course you can, but you will be punished by the rules. According to the number of levels passed, the strengthened cards in the challenger's body will be randomly selected. The more levels passed, the fewer cards will be drawn after giving up. Seeing that Qin Lang seemed to be really thinking about the possibility of clearing the Colosseum, Li Guoguo advised, if you don't have enough strength, I don't recommend challenging the Colosseum. The most important thing is that the environment in the secret realm is very good, although the number of monsters is not high enough. It's a lot, but it can break even. The secret realm does not exist forever. Have you ever thought about what if it is closed one day? All the people in the secret realm will die. Qin Lang said seriously, this is the end of the world, and you will only be eliminated. Li Guoguo sat up. Do you really want to challenge the Colosseum? I want to try. Okay, if you make up your mind, I'll give you all the cards I've saved these days. Li Guoguo took out a large pile of cards from the storage ring, including guns and ammunition. Each card, regardless of level, had a special pattern on the back of the card to distinguish between ordinary cards and secret cards. The card was given to me. What about you? If you want to leave, let's go together. I can't leave. I still have so many friends who have come all the way with me. It was my suggestion to enter the secret realm. How could I leave by myself and leave them here? Li Guoguo said without thinking. I know you are kind, but this is the end of the world. Qin Lang pinched his eyebrows and said, forget it. Whether to leave or stay, we will discuss this later. You take me to the Colosseum first. Even if I want to challenge the Colosseum, I have to make sufficient preparations. I can't even not a single handy the weapon. The weapon handy weapon? You mean the color card level? Yes, this is the minimum standard. Sword weapons fit my fighting style. Qin Lang has such a character. He is reckless when he should be reckless and steady when he should be steady. Even if he has enough confidence in his combat power, he still wants to be foolproof. Sword-like colored card weapons. I know where to find them, but Li Guoguo shook her head. I can't get them. They're in Lisa's hands. Lisa? Are you talking about that black girl with a tiger identity? Didn't you just come in? How come you even know Lisa? Li Guoguo was speechless. It's such that Qin Lang told how he deceived Lisa and how Lisa invited him to the camp point. Li Guoguo suddenly understood and immediately showed joy. I can call He Fan to help if you sneak in. He is an illusionist who can temporarily change your identity into a tiger and the other party will never be able to detect the authenticity. That would be so convenient. Qin Lang nodded. This trip to the northern swamp was so worth it. Not only did he find his childhood sweetheart, he also learned the second way to leave the secret realm of fighting beasts, and now he even figured out how to disguise his identity. The two immediately found He Fan and informed him of their plan. He Fan agreed. There is absolutely no problem with this. Guo's friends are my friends. When you plan to go to the camp, I will go with you. The tiger identity can be said to be the most unscrupulous existence in this secret realm because there are too few people who can restrain them. As long as they have a good relationship with one or two of the elephant identities, they are basically invincible. Without further ado, I will reply to Lisa immediately, and we will set off now. By the way, I have a friend named Zalzixin. I will bring him to your camp. After arranging everything here, Qin Lang and Yifan went to Lisa's camp point. Since the time flow rate in the secret realm is much higher than that in the outside world, it is not a long way. Qin Lang and the others walked for a day and a night. The smoke from the cooking pots curled up in front, which was obviously where the camp was. You want to go in with me? Well, I know Lisa. To tell you the truth, I'm actually a member of the Tiger Alliance. I know this. The ecological environment of the secret realm is very delicate and harmonious at present. Everyone does not invade each other. Yifan briefly explained a few words and cast a disguise illusion on Qin language. The duration of the camouflage illusion is 30 minutes, which is enough to cope with the inspection. Well, let's go in. Qin Lang sent Lisa a message telling him that he was at the door soon. Lisa went out with a dozen of her subordinates to greet him. After seeing Yifan, Lisa was a little strange. Why are you here too? Yifan smiled and said, long time no see, boss Lisa. I bring you your blessings. I hope we can continue to coexist peacefully in the future. Lisa smiled, showing her white teeth. It is naturally best if we can coexist peacefully. The end of the world is already very cruel. Who would kill each other, if not as a last resort? Mr. Qin, please come in. Following Lisa into the camp, Lisa pointed to a man next to her and said, it's a routine inspection. Mr. Qin won't mind. Of course not, whatever. Qin Lang opened his arms and allowed several men to examine him. One of them scratched Qin Lang's arm with a sharp nail, and blood really flowed out. Lisa nodded with satisfaction and led Qin Lang into the meeting hall. The second in command, Brother Long, wanted to follow, but Lisa waved her hand to stop him. I want to talk to Qin alone. I know, boss. Brother Long stepped aside angrily and said flatteringly, bossy. As a leopard, he was very respectful to Yifan. Yifan said expressionlessly, immediately, gather all the people with rat identities here. Brother Long was stunned. Huh? Why? Yifan said coldly, Qin Lang is an elephant, and all this is his conspiracy. Wah, what? Is he an elephant? Brother Long was shocked, but the inspection just now I helped him add an illusion disguise. Why don't you do it right away? Do you really want to watch your boss being killed? Chapter 132. Ordinary Love. Rat identity point. The weakest beings in the secret realm of fighting beasts have always lived as slaves, but they are fatal to the strongest elephant, not only because of their identity restraint, but more importantly, people with rat identities are given a unique skill, the unity of the rats. Once they enter a battle, their combat power index will be multiplied by the identity of the nearby rats. Assume that the combat power of an individual rat is 4000, and there are 100 rats nearby. Then, when a certain individual fights with an elephant, his combat power will reach 400,000. That's right, it's 400,000. No bishop can withstand such an attack. While Qin Lang and Lisa went in to talk, Brother Long mobilized more than 40 rat identities under the instigation of Yifan. Yifan lowered his voice and said, when Qin Lang comes out later, don't hesitate and kill him directly. Brother Long said in a cold voice, did you hear that? Yes, yes. All the rats looked at each other and replied sparsely. They didn't dare not agree. There were more than a dozen cats watching them with eager eyes, and it wouldn't take even half a minute to kill them all. Time passes minute by second. Half an hour later, Lisa and Qin Lang walked out of the house again, chatting happily. When Lisa saw so many people gathered in front of the door, she couldn't help but raise her eyebrows. What's going on? What are you doing here? Brother Long cheered up and walked out of the crowd, saying respectfully, boss, the Qin Lang next to you, he deceived you. His identity is actually an elephant. In order to protect your safety, I found all the rats in the camp. Lisa raised her eyebrows. Oh, who told you this news? Yifan said, I can guarantee with my life, he is an elephant. Boss Lisa, do it. Lisa nodded. No rats are allowed to act rashly. Anyone who dares to move will be killed. Qin, you can take action now. Thank you. Qin Lang showed a vicious smile. He Fan, I don't know where I offended you. You betrayed me. What? He Fan never dreamed that things would develop like this. According to his own script, when he pointed out Qin Lang's true identity, Lisa would be shocked and immediately let the rats attack Qin Lang and kill him on the spot. Why would Lisa be so calm? How did he Fan know that Qin Lang actually identified his identity on the spot after entering the room with Lisa and told her that he was not interested in killing people and that he only came this time to borrow Keika weapons to challenge the Colosseum? Lisa has a very high IQ and immediately agreed to form an alliance with Qin Lang and lent Kei-Wu to him. Because if Qin Lang really came with malicious intent, it would be too easy to kill her, and there was no need for the other party to lie to her. Moreover, forming an alliance with Qin Lang is a 1-for-1 deal, because Qin Lang also has the Elephant of the Northern Witch beside him. In this way, Lisa, could really walk sideways in the secret realm of beast fighting, which would have all the advantages and no disadvantages. Unfortunately, He Fan no longer had the chance to think about these things. Qin Lang knocked him out with just one punch. He is a subordinate of the Witch of the North, and I will hand it over to her personally. Lisa, then we will see you at the Colosseum in 3 days according to the time we agreed. Qin Lang said with his hand in hand. Lisa nodded. No problem. I will take my brothers there to cheer you up. I will walk slowly without seeing you off. Farewell, Qin Lang released a dark tentacle from his right arm, tied up the unconscious He Fan, and took him back to the northern swamp, like flying a kite. Northern swamp. He Fan. He betrayed you. But, why? You and He Fan have no conflict of interest. Li Guoguo was angry, confused, and even at a loss. This chapter is not finished yet. Click on the next chapter to continue reading chapter 132. Mortal love, what happened? Why did He Fan target Qin Lang? Qin Lang sighed. Why are you still as naive as before? Can't you see that He Fan regards me as a love rival, and he likes you? After Qin Lang's prompting, Li Guoguo realized it later and suddenly felt a chill. No wonder He Fan has always looked at her strangely since the shelter was established. He likes me. Li Guoguo frowned. At this time, the subordinate who was ordered to search He Fan's room to see if there was any evidence of collaboration with the enemy came back. He was sweating profusely and said, "Boss, there is something in Deputy He's room. I found something." What? Discovery? Well, I dare not say. Why don't you go and see for yourself? The subordinate's face was very twisted, as if he had seen something extraordinary. Qin Lang looked playful. Could he have guessed wrong? It shouldn't be. Li Guoguo rushed into He Fan's residence. Everything was normal in the hall, but when she opened the door and entered the bedroom, she was stunned, and Qin Lang was also shocked. I saw that this small bedroom was filled with clothes drying racks, and on each clothes drying rack hung women's underwear, panties, stockings, etc. If it was just these, it would be a paraphilia to death. There is really nothing to make a fuss about in this apocalyptic world. What made Qin Lang speechless and disgusting was that a huge tea vat was filled with women's sanitary napkins, and many of the sanitary napkins that had been soaked and lost their color were neatly stacked aside. I can't. I want to vomit. Qin Lang turned around and went out. If he stayed any longer, he would have a picture. No, he already had a picture. Every leisurely night, He Fan would sit on a wicker chair, drinking tampon tea, and admiring the intimate clothes collected from Li Guoguo. Li Guoguo came out with a serious face, and passed Qin Lang without saying anything. She was very disgusting, and had severe physical discomfort. /U003 CBR /U003 He Fan, I just went to your room. Li Guoguo had a gloomy face, and stared at He Fan, who woke up leisurely. He Fan's heart thumped, and he smiled sadly. You've already discovered it, so I have nothing to say. I have always regarded you as my elder brother, and you actually did this to me? Li Guoguo was furious. What did I do? He Fan's hands and feet were bound, and he couldn't move. The only thing that could move was his head. He tilted his head with a joking look on his face. I regard all the garbage you don't want as treasure. What impact will it have on you? What? Then, that sanitary napkin. Li Guoguo was speechless for a moment. That's my ration of tea. It's my spiritual support. Fan said confidently, you threw it away, why can't I pick it back up? What I eat and drink is my freedom. Lee Guoguo was completely speechless. As for you, Fan's eyes were ferocious. I don't know what's going on between you and Lisa. I admit that I lost, but there is no one in this world who loves fruit more than me. You call this perverted behavior love? Qin Lang was really angry and laughed. Abnormal. Love, isn't it love? Fan's rhetorical question gave Qin Lang a hard time. Fan yelled crazily. I even dare to eat the fruit. Do you dare? You don't even dare to do this. Why do you say you love me? Enough. Lee Guoguo couldn't listen anymore and covered her ears. Take him away. Guoguo, are you okay? Qin Lang was worried about Lee Guoguo's mental state. Don't come over. Lee Guoguo hurriedly backed away with a face full of rejection. You leave me alone for a while. I'm very upset right now. Chapter 133. Another instant kill. Fan's death was a suicide. He slit his wrist and wrote a love letter on the wall of the dungeon with blood before he died. Only 2 words were revealed between the lines. Pervert. Qin Lang decided not to tell Lee Guoguo about the content of this bloody love letter. This girl, who was only 20 years old, had already suffered a huge psychological blow and her spirit was not good. How could he bear to let her be hurt again? It was noon on the 3rd day when I saw Lee Guoguo again. Her expression was extremely bad, and she obviously hadn't slept for several nights. She refused to talk to all men, and even Qin Lang was turned away by her, which made him dumbfounded. Civet, don't beat all men to death with one stick. There are only a few perverts like Fan. If you don't want to talk to me, forget it. I'm going to the Colosseum. After shouting several times towards his residence, seeing that Lee Guoguo refused to come out, Qin Lang had no choice but to give up. Just when he turned to leave, Lee Guoguo came out and said, Old Qin, I'm sorry, I have endured too few things. Too fragile. I've neglected you these past 2 days. Qin Lang laughed it off. How could he be angry with Lee Guoguo? He smiled and said, it's good that you're fine. There are all kinds of outrageous perversions in peaceful times, not to mention this lawless end of the world. I hope you can become stronger after this. Not every man is Fan. Don't mention this person. I feel sick when I hear this name. Let's go to the Colosseum together. If anything happens, you will have backup. Good. Qin Lang nodded, and he felt more relieved when he saw that Lee Guoguo's energy had recovered a lot. Immediately, Lee Guoguo took everyone in the camp to the Colosseum further north. When they arrived, Lisa was already waiting here. Hello, Ms. Witch. Lisa bowed respectfully. Lee Guoguo smiled and said, Lisa, thank you for borrowing Laokin's weapon. I, Lee Guoguo, swear that no matter what happens in the future, I will never take action against you or the people around you. Lisa was overjoyed. It is an honor to form an alliance with the Witch of the North. Mr. Qin, I wish you success in your challenge. Thank you. While several people were talking, several more teams arrived one after another. They learned that someone was going to challenge the Colosseum and came here to watch the battle. As Zhao Zixin introduced, there is always a delicate balance between the several major forces in the secret realm of fighting beasts. No one is willing to break this balance. We all coexist peacefully. Isn't it good to make money together with cards? There is really no need to fight and kill. Therefore, a world in which only the rat camp is harmed is achieved. It's very much like the ancient Roman Colosseum. Standing at a high place, Qin Lang looked at the circular Colosseum below. There were a lot of mottled bloodstains in the arena, and a gust of wind blew by, rolling up yellow sand. I'm going. Qin Lang stopped talking and jumped up. Arriving at the entrance of the Colosseum, Qin Lang read the rules carefully. In fact, there are no rules. As long as you kill the 5 monsters in the Colosseum, you can pass the level and become the master of the secret realm of beasts. It turns out that there are 5 levels to pass, namely rat level monsters, cat level monsters, leopard level monsters, tiger level monsters and elephant level monsters. This makes sense. Qin Lang nodded. Just as he was about to go in, a black shadow suddenly jumped out from the side. When he looked closely, he saw that it was Xiao Hei, and behind it was a shaky Q-boy. Qin Lang couldn't help but be happy. Hey, why are you two here? Where have you been wandering around during this time? I always thought you were dead. Meow. This chapter is not finished yet. Click on the next chapter to continue reading chapter 133. Another instant kill. Ziohei squatted on the ground and meowed while washing his face, which meant that they had been busy hunting and growing mushrooms during this period. Last night, he heard that someone was going to challenge the Colosseum. He guessed that this person was Qin Lang, so he started early in the morning. Came over with Mr. Q. Gilulu Q. Zay put his hand into the pocket on his abdomen and took out a dozen small mushrooms. These were planted in the secret realm and marked with special patterns, so Qin Lang could eat them with confidence. Q. Boy, I didn't hurt you in vain, Qin. Lang was so happy that he rubbed Q's mushroom face vigorously. It was so elastic that it was even worse than a girl's buttocks, and it was far away. Old Qin, do you know the cat and the mushroom? Li Guoguo trotted over, her eyes shining. Qin Lang laughed loudly. What do you mean by acquaintance? This is my pet. Come on, let me introduce to you. This is Ziohei and this is Qzay. Question mark 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 question mark. Ziohei looked cold, glanced at Li Guoguo, and continued to wash his face. Qzay, on the other hand, was very careless. He twisted to Li Guoguo's side, pointed at his mushroom cap, and motioned for Li Guoguo to sit on it. Li Guoguo looked curious. After she sat on it, Q's legs were rooted to the ground, and his body was elongated. He directly raised it to a height of 7 or 8 meters, and he forced Li Guoguo to find a position. You little thing, when did you learn this skill? You must have been a benchmaster in your previous life. Qin Lang calmed down and formally entered the Colosseum. But a deafening voice sounded. A mirror wall appeared behind Qin Lang, which not only blocked his departure, but also prevented anyone from entering to cause trouble. The iron fence in front slowly rose, and a giant creature covered with scars appeared. Its body, over 2 meters high, was made up of various beasts and human remains. It was carrying a bone rod in its hand. The shape is very chic, but weak. Qin Lang made a judgment through the breath, released by the other party. Let's fight quickly. Qin Lang moved his hands and feet and rushed towards the monster. Old Qin, come on. Li Guoguo clenched her fists hard. Off the field, Lisa and her group stood in a clear field of view to watch the battle. Boss, how many levels do you think this Qin Lang can pass? Brother Long asked curiously. Lisa smiled and said, he is very strong. He can at least pass the 3rd level. Do you know why I brought you here to watch the battle? To cheer up Qin Lang. Brother Long thought for a while. You're thinking too little. Lisa smiled and said, cheering him up is a secondary purpose. The main purpose is, I want to observe the scenes of him fighting monsters and formulate a plan in case we have to fight in the arena in the future. Woolen cloth. The boss is the boss. I admire you. Brother Long flattered him wildly. Lisa looked at Qin Lang, who was rushing towards the monster, and the corners of her mouth raised slightly. Fight. The more intense the fight, the better. Boom. There was a loud bang. The slightly raised corners of Lisa's mouth began to deform and turned into an O shape because the seemingly terrifying monster was killed by Qin Lang's punch. Yes, he was instantly killed with just one punch. This Colosseum monster is so weak. Lisa rubbed her eyelids vigorously. Before her shock was over, the second duel began. This time it was a giant spider monster. Qin Lang did not continue to attack with his fists. Instead, he took out the K-Wu breaking knife that Lisa lent him and fired it to Shengs and took it away directly. Another instant kill. There was an uproar. Chapter 134. Clear the Colosseum. You can kill people in the Colosseum without getting hurt. Old Qin, you are so awesome. Li Guoguo rushed over with a smile and threw herself into Qin Lang's arms. She was happy for Qin Lang from the bottom of her heart. Qin Lang smiled and patted her soft body, smelling the woman's unique body fragrance, and he was moved for a moment. This illustrates a problem from the side. There is indeed no pure friendship between men and women unless one party is of the same gender. Congratulations. Lisa hurriedly brought people down to congratulate her. Qin Lang also kept his promise and returned the broken ring knife to Lisa, mainly the colorful card weapon. He really doesn't like it now. Thank you. If we meet again by chance, I will treat you to a drink. Lisa smiled and said, there is an old saying in China, if you have wine today, you will be drunk today, and you will be worried tomorrow. If you are free, you are always welcome in my camp. Qin Lang glanced at Li Guoguo with a smile. Guoguo, what do you say? Li Guoguo thought for a while. Today is a big day. Since Lisa warmly invites us, let's not go home until we get drunk. Lisa laughed. Let's go. Go drink. A group of people left happily. As soon as Qin Lang and his group left, a man with a tiger identity rushed into the Colosseum. Haha, I will be the second person to clear the Colosseum. Damn it. He got the first chance. Oh, this kid is so nimble with his hands and feet. A few minutes later, the man with the identity of a tiger barely made it through the second level. When facing the monster in the third level, he was cut into 2 pieces with a knife and didn't even have the chance to give up. Later, some people with high self-confidence went to challenge, but only a handful of them could reach the third level. 90 gave up at the second level. Only then did people realize that it was not a battle of beasts. The monsters on the field are weak, but Qin Lang is too strong. So strong that they have hallucinations. The other side point. Lisa's camp was filled with laughter while drinking. Lisa would rub herself against Qin Lang from time to time, and anyone with a discerning eye would know what it meant. This made Qin Lang dumbfounded. To a certain extent, Lisa was not ugly, but it really didn't fit his oriental aesthetics. For example, in the early years, when he watched some pornographic movies with a critical nature, he would always choose an oriental actress, no matter how bad it was. A white guy with blonde hair and blue eyes would be fine, but a black guy wouldn't be able to see it, and that would be too far-fetched. After 3 rounds of wine, 5 flavors of food, after the banquet was over, Qin Lang took Li Guoguo back to the camp. Li Guoguo drank a lot of wine. Her face was red, and she laughed and said, Lisa has made it clear. Why don't you stay? Do you dislike me for being black? Don't you men often say that it's the same, even when the lights are turned off? Qin Lang was very happy. The problem is, it doesn't matter whether she turns off the lights or not. Who can bear this? You annoying guy. Li Guoguo pinched him. Tell me honestly how many girlfriends you have. Then you have to let me think about it. It's a bit much. Qin Lang clapped his fingers and said, Linwana, Chenzu, Sun Yan, Zhao Qingsu, Zhao Zukidam. Are you serious? Li Guoguo angrily increased his strength on his hand. Qin Lang suddenly turned around and slammed Li Guoguo on the tree. Their noses were facing each other, and they could hear each other's heartbeat and breathing. Do you want to be my girlfriend? Qin Lang smiled evilly. Li Guoguo closed her eyes, pursed her lips, and said nothing. Chapter 135. Huang Qingjun and Xiang Bei. In the secret time, in the early morning 5 days later, Qin Lang took Xiaohui and Quzhe back to the real world. As for the pale bloody corpse, he had already disappeared. After confirming that there was no threat nearby, and that he was safe, Qin Lang immediately dialed Linwana's phone number. He usually kept in touch with the other party, but this time he lost contact for a week. They must be going crazy. Sure enough, the phone only rang once and was answered. Lin Wana cried, Qin Lang, where have you been these days? I encountered a monster chasing me and escaped into the secret realm. You cannot use external cards in the secret realm. How are you doing there? Is everything okay? Qin Lang said simply, something happened in the shelter. Xiaoxu died. What did you say? Qin Lang was shocked. How could this happen? How did she die? A week ago, a group of people disguised as wanderers entered the shelter and started killing people in the shelter after nightfall. Zhao Qingsu urgently asked us to help with the defense, but the group was very strong, and we couldn't stop it at all. Xiaoxu was there. He was assassinated at that time. If Zhu Yun hadn't come back in time to fight them off, our casualties would have been even greater. When the incident happened, Laoli and Zhu Yun were not in the shelter and were hunting outside. Where are that group of people now? Qin Lang's face was as hen. I don't know. They were beaten away by Zhu Yun. When will you come back? I'll go back right away. It shouldn't take a few days. Wait for me. After hanging up the communication, Qin Lang's mood was like a roller coaster, sliding from the highest point to the bottom in an instant. He really couldn't accept Chen Zhu's death. You must know that Chen Zhu was the core gainer in the team. Her death directly caused the entire team's combat power to be reduced by at least 20. Damn it. Those who dare to kill me, let me catch you. I will eat you alive. Qin Lang looked up to the sky and roared, venting his depression point pass. After a while, Qin Lang got on his motorcycle and drove towards the shelter. At the same time, there was a ruins 200 kilometers away from the shelter. Dozens of men and women were taking a break point. The man sitting by the campfire was tall and muscular, wearing a light green short-sleeved military uniform and camouflaged pants. At this time, he was peeling an apple with a dagger. His name is Huang Chengjun. Before the end of the world, he was a veteran. He helped several social elders watch the show in nightclubs. After the end of the world, he continued to strengthen himself with his agility. Now his combat power has reached a terrifying 17. The men and women sitting near Huang Chengjun are all his partners, following him all the way. It can be said that they are invincible. Huang Chengjun originally thought that he could push all the way and become the king of the end of the world, but he encountered a Waterloo in the infiltration battle a week ago. He did not expect that there were dragons and tigers hidden in this shelter with nearly 10,000 people, and there were many masters, especially those few. The guys who rushed out of the mobile fortress were each stronger than the last. Although they assassinated the opponent's female auxiliary during the battle, they also paid a huge price for this, losing 10 loyal brothers. What frightened Huang Chengjun the most was the druid who could transform into a violent giant bear. He could crush them both in terms of strength and speed. If he hadn't run fast, he would have left dozens more corpses behind. Strategist, what should we do next? What's the point of staying here? I can't beat that druid named Zhu Yun. Huang Chengjun looked at the bespectacled man in the team. He is a team's think tank, nicknamed Strategist. The military advisor pushed up his glasses on the bridge of his nose and said, well, this chapter is not finished. Click the next chapter to continue reading. Chapter 135. Huang Chengjun and Xiang were in danger. We hid here and there. Our brothers were all exhausted and urgently needed to find a long-term shelter to recuperate. The Longvine shelter was just right for us in terms of location and size, so we couldn't give up so easily. I don't want to give up, but I can't beat it. Huang Chengjun was unhappy. I fought Zhu Yun, 37, me 3, Zhu Yun 7. Without him, we would have captured the shelter long ago, and those stinky bitches like Linwana, Zhao Qingsu, and Sun Yan would also have been captured long ago. I played bad. The military advisor laughed it off. You can't beat Zhu Yun, but that doesn't mean others can't. Have you forgotten the tyrant we met some time ago? Xiang Bei? Huang Chengjun raised his eyebrows. He is indeed very strong, but I have no friendship with him. Why should he help me? Hey, what do you mean by helping? This is clearly cooperation. I haven't asked you to move your home these days. In fact, I'm waiting for Xiangba's reply. Just yesterday, Xiangba led his troops to rush towards Changting. No later than tomorrow morning will arrive. The military advisor smiled and said, I wanted to give you a surprise. Huang Chengjun's eyes lit up, and he stuffed a piece of baked apple into his mouth. This guy Xiangba is greedy. What benefits did you promise him? Ha 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 ha. Huang Chengjun, you brat. You actually said bad things about me behind my back. Believe it or not, I'm going to slap you. Suddenly, there was a burst of laughter in the sky. Before anyone even had time to react, 3 figures appeared in the camp. The leader was unusually tall, with sharp eyebrows and starry eyes. He was wearing a gorgeous python robe and a red cloak that made a hunting sound. Beside him were 2 young men, a man and a woman, one with a sword and the other with a sword. They were his men, Jingyan and Nifeng. Xiangba, you came fast enough. Huang Chengjun tilted him eye. Why did you bring 3 people with you? Xiangba opened his palms and said with an exaggerated laugh, ha 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 ha. I thought they were walking too slowly, so I brought Feng Yan here in advance. Didn't you just ask Zhao Yan what benefits he promised me? Let me tell you. Chapter 1 first. After this is done, we will jointly take charge of Changteng Sanctuary. Second, I want these 5 women, Linwana, Sun Yan, Zhao Qingsu, Ding Yuan, and Zhao Zuki. Third, I want 60% of all the cards. Huang Chengjun glared angrily. You fart. I can agree with the first and third ones, but what do you want from those 5 beautiful girls? What do I want to do? No. We must give them to 2 of us equally. There's no need to talk about this. I have to take it all. Xiangba waved his hand fiercely. If you want to play with women, I can let Nifeng accompany you. Nifeng smiled charmingly, pinched Xiaoman's waist with one hand and said, Boss Huang, I admit that my beauty is a bit off, but I live a good life, and I promise to let you take off. Bother. Huang Chengjin cursed. You vixen, why are you tempting me here? Who doesn't know that the skill you learned is to harvest yang and replenish yin? I want to live for a few more years, and I don't want to be a human. Nifeng stuck out her tongue and licked her lips. Can't you just pick a little bit? No. Huang Chengjin refused directly. Ha 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 ha. Okay Nifeng, stop teasing him. You don't know what kind of character Leo Huang is. If he really wants to sleep with you, why wait until now? Xiangbei laughed loudly. Hey, do you agree or not? Except for these 5 women, everything else in the Longvine Sanctuary belongs to you, right? Those vulgar fans put together are not as good as Ding Yuan, let alone Linwana and the others. Huang Chengjin sighed. Forget it. It's not easy for you to come all the way. Eyelines give it to you. Just give it to you. Ah ha ha ha. Xiangbei looked up to the sky and smiled. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 136 Disagreement. A dull voice came from the armor. I agree too. Okay, since everyone agrees, let's get started immediately. Laoli was gearing up. Zhao Qingsu, just take care of the shelter. When we take action, the shelter will definitely leave a high-end combat force. New. Zhao Qingsu took a deep breath, said no more, and silently turned away with her sister. Although her and her sister's bodies have been handed over to Qin Lang, it is obvious that the other party does not regard them as his own. Perhaps, in Qin Lang's eyes, she and her sister were just tools for him to vent his desires. Sister Zazuki hesitated to speak. I'm fine. Let the captain strengthen the patrol inside the shelter. Anyway, as long as we wait a week and Qin Lang comes back, everything will be easy to handle. The moonlight shines on the ground, and even if there are no streetlights, the visibility is still high. The ground that had been replanned and constructed was spotlessly clean. Except for the occasional footsteps of the night patrol, the shelter was quite quiet. Those guys have obviously escaped. Why is the boss still so cautious and insisting on letting us go out on night patrol? Hey, you don't know about Boss Qingsu's character. She has always been cautious. Anyway, she won't treat us badly. She just patrols at night. That's true, but it's very unbalanced in my heart. In peacetime, I was a 996 cow and horse. I didn't expect that in the end of the world, I would still be a 996 cow and horse. Ha 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 ha. Cows and horses will always be cows and horses. You can't escape this fate. Ha ha ha. The 3 night patrol soldiers were smoking and talking, laughing, and joking happily. After turning the crossroads ahead, the 3 of them were about to turn back when something suddenly happened in the grass. Then a weak cry for help came out. Help me. Who? The 3 of them were all shocked and all raised their rifles. Take a closer look. I saw a disheveled woman lying in the grass. Her appearance could only be described as fair. She had obviously been illegally violated and was dying. Drop. After the combat power scan ended, one of the men said, he is a civilian with only 400 combat power. In the 4th stage of the end of the world, all those with a combat power of less than 1000 are civilians. What happened to you? Who made you like this? There was a man in black clothes who insulted me. The woman curled up in the arms of the night patrol soldier and cried, I'm scared. You're a woman. What are you doing out at night? Do you really think there are no bad guys in this shelter? While comforting the woman, the night patrol soldier exchanged glances with his 2 colleagues, both of whom showed tacit smiles. Soon after, 3 night patrol soldiers took the woman to a remote corner of the shelter, into a semi-destroyed building. From a structural point of view, it should have been a restaurant before the apocalypse. Sister, this is the end of the world, and the emphasis is on cigarettes for cigarettes, and tea for tea. we can save you, but the premise is that you have to give us something in exchange. I just checked you, and there is nothing, so I can only offer my life to save my life. What? The woman showed a horrified expression. What are you afraid of? We will be very gentle, and we will definitely make you happy. There is nothing happier than having sex for free. Brothers, what are you waiting for? Come on. No. Don't. Woo. The woman wanted to scream, but her mouth was covered the next second. Chapter 137. The Queen's Power. Snapped. Red and blue flames erupted from his fingers, and he lit the cigarette. The woman took a deep breath of the post-event cigarette, and exhaled a thick cloud of smoke. Idiot. Real hunters often appear as prey. They don't even understand this basic common sense. You can only count yourself lucky to be alive until now. There was a sarcastic expression on the corner of the woman's mouth. She was none other than Xiang Bei subordinate. Niffing straightened her collar and disappeared quietly into the night shelter. Early morning. Zhao Qingsu rubbed her bloodshot eyes. Although she had strengthened many cards to restore her physical strength, managing a shelter with 5 or 6,000 people required far more energy and spirit than physical strength. Boss, something happened. A captain knocked on the door and came in, looking a little panicked. What's wrong? Someone found 3 deceased people in a ruins in the area to be built. Their deaths were very strange, and they were all night duty members. The death is strange? Take me to see it. Zhao Qingsu took the captain and a dozen soldiers to the site of the incident. Sure enough, there were 3 corpses lying in the dilapidated ruins. 3 mummies to be exact, because except for the thin layer of skin wrapped around the bones, all the flesh and blood in their bodies has been absorbed. The deceased have been identified. They are Zhang Lu, Qin Lang and Feng Xiang. The 3 of them were responsible for the night duty in the first half of the night last night. They did not return to the team after the night duty. Then it stands to reason that shouldn't this behavior of not returning to the team be reported in time? Well, the reason why they didn't report it is because they often go there after night duty. The reporting captain paused, saw Zhao Qingsu looking over, and lowered his voice and said, "Go find the lady." So the captain on duty didn't take it seriously. Zhao Qingsu frowned slightly, but said nothing. New boss. Now people in the shelter were panicking. Could this be the work of some monster? It's possible, but I prefer artificiality. Zhao Qingsu said calmly. Monsters will not lure people to such a remote place, and there are no signs of fighting nearby. In other words, the 3 of them were deceived by someone through some means. You should immediately lead people to investigate the young women who have recently entered the asylum between the ages of 20 and 40 and bring all those who have no alibi to the meeting hall. Clear. In less than half a day, the captain brought back more than 100 young women, all of whom had no alibi. They looked at each other with fearful expressions on their faces, but they did not dare to ask what happened. As Zhao Qingsu walked, her sharp eyes swept over the girls one by one. When she passed by Nifeng, she paused briefly, but soon lost interest, and continued moving forward. Hey, I have a color card concealer, and I can reduce my combat power and aura at will. Unless your strength exceeds mine by a lot, it is impossible to discover my true combat power. But she is Zhao Qingsu. No wonder the boss never forgets her. Indeed somewhat pretty. Okay, you can go. Zhao Qingsu waved her hand. When Nifeng was about to go out, Zhao Qingsu raised her arm to stop her. Boss, what's going on? Nifeng looked scared. Stop pretending. You're the one who killed 3 night soldiers, right? Zhao Qingsu said calmly, and the captains around him got the instruction and gathered around them. What? Night warrior, I don't know what you are talking about. Nifeng cursed in her heart. You wouldn't think that as long as this chapter is not finished yet. Click on the next chapter to continue reading chapter 137. The Power of the Queen. If you hide your combat power, it won't be exposed, right? Your combat power can be hidden, your aura can be hidden, but the smell of blood on your body cannot be hidden. I saw Zhao Qingsu's right arm waving, and an ice sword appeared in his hand. The tip of the sword was directly at Nifeng's throat. You are still pretending to me? Snort. Seeing that her identity was exposed, Nifeng simply stopped pretending, slapped away the ice sword, and took a few steps back. She said with a ferocious face, Zhao Qingsu, you are worthy of being the king of green vines. You really have two brushes. I underestimate you. You can't run away. Tell me, who sent you here? Is it Huang Qingjun? How can Huang Qingjun be qualified to instruct me? My boss is called Xiangba, and he is King Kang's boss. Nifeng sneered. If you are willing to let me go back honestly, I will help him in the future when the boss captures Changteng Sanctuary. If not, please say a few kind words. What? If not, Zhao. King Su's expression was dull and calm. Then, you just wait to be crippled by my boss. There are many people who want to cripple me, so you, the boss, don't matter. Zhao Qingsu smiled contemptuously. Come on, if you can block my 3 swords, I will let you go back. If you can't block it, then keep your life. Ha 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 ha. Nifeng laughed. Bitch, you are so crazy. This is what you said. Take action. When Nifeng shouted the word attack, a powerful chill enveloped her, and in a daze, hundreds of ice swords appeared in front of her eyes. The ice swords gathered into a long dragon, and spun towards her. Hiss. Nifeng took a breath, gritted her teeth, and her long sword ignited in flames, and collided with the Stegosaurus. Boom. A loud bang. Nifeng flew out, bleeding from all her orifices suppressed by absolute combat power. Nifeng was defeated in one move point. She looked in horror. Zhao Qingsu, with the Stegosaurus coiled behind him, wanted to speak, but his throat felt so sweet that he spit out a mouthful of blood. I overestimated you. If I had known you were so weak, I would have only used 70% of my strength. Zhao Qingsu raised the corner of her mouth slightly and said, suffer death. No. If you kill me, my boss won't let you go. Nifeng was still making her final struggle. Then let him come to me. Zhao Qingsu waved her long sword, and the sword dragon roared over, smashing Nifeng's body into powder. There is no need to even collect the corpse. Inform. Sister, inform me. Just say that I have obtained a new piece of information. A temporary camp 100 kilometers away from Changteng City. Xiangbei suddenly twitched the corner of his mouth. He who was laughing heartily a second ago suddenly stood up and looked in the direction of Changteng. His eyes became extremely sinister. What's wrong? Huang Qingjun rarely saw such a solemn expression on Xiangbei's face. Nifeng is dead. Jingyan, who was wiping the long knife, was stunned for 3 seconds and then started wiping the long knife again. Obviously, the death of his companion was far less important than wiping the knife. It was Zhao Qingsu who killed her. She was seriously injured in one move. Xiangba closed his eyes, and the scene of Nifeng fighting Zhao Qingsu immediately appeared in his mind. Nifeng has no merit other than playing with men. Someone with a little bit of fighting ability can defeat her. Isn't it surprising? Jingyan blew a strand of hair off the blade. It doesn't matter if she's dead. I've already seen her unhappy. Jingyan, Xiangba, was a little angry. I care more about this than Nifeng's death. Jingyan strikes out boldly. The half-moon sword arc struck a rock 300 meters away like thunder. With a scream, the long vine scout hiding behind the rock was cut in half. Chapter 138 Dark Gold Skills. All beings are equal. Our location has been discovered. Huang Qingjun picked up the communicator next to the body point. The indicator light of the communicator was on, which meant that every move they made just now was communicated to Changvin's shelter in real time. Wouldn't it be better if we found out? We can just wait and see, which saves us having to go find them. Xiangba has absolute confidence in his own fighting power. Don't underestimate the enemy. There are several serious masters in Changvin's sanctuary, and their combat power is close to 20,000, or even more than 20,000. Huang Qingjun reminded. Xiangba smiled contemptuously. Old Huang, you still don't have a thorough understanding of my strength. Don't say they have a combat strength of 20,000. Even if they have a combat strength of 50,000, if you come to me, you still have to die. Huang Qingjun's eyes flashed with surprise, and he glanced at the military advisor. The military advisor pushed up his glasses and said calmly, this is also the main reason why I asked the boss to cooperate. Don't worry, boss, nothing will happen. Huang Qingjun nodded. If even the military advisor said this, then he would be really relieved. Since the end of the world, the strategies of military advisors have never failed. The other side. A violent giant bear carried Lin Wana, Sun Yan, Ding Yuan and Liu Li and ran quickly. They had just learned the opponent's specific location and personnel through the reconnaissance soldiers. They must arrive as soon as possible, otherwise they would be allowed to escape. 30 kilometers to go. 25 kilometers. 20 kilometers. The violent giant bear runs extremely fast and can adapt to most terrains. This is the biggest advantage of the ability to transform into an alien beast. Almost in the blink of an eye, the 5 people arrived at the scene of the incident. What they didn't expect was that instead of running away, Huang Chengjin and his group waited in position, obviously planning to fight them here. Welcome, masters of Longvine Sanctuary. Huang Chengjin spread his hands and smiled evilly. Welcome, Mom. The person who responded to Huang Chengjin was a bloody spear. The spear was like a meteor, wrapped in flames and smashed hard. Before Huang Chengjin could take action, a stern sword flashed past and the spear flew out. Jingayan waved his long sword expressionlessly. If the sword of Jingayan doesn't kill the nameless ghost, I'll give you my name. You can really show off. Ding. Yuan took a disdainful breath and turned into a lizard man, while Lin Wana and Sun Yan also jumped off the bear's back and assumed a fighting posture. Xiang Bei walked out of the crowd, opened his palms, and laughed wildly. It's a pity that the Zhao sisters didn't come, otherwise I would have killed you all. But it doesn't matter. Once I kill you, I will immediately go to destroy the Evergreen Sanctuary. I will kill all the men and all the women. Stay and be a slave. Ha 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 ha. What gave you the courage to say such a thing? Zhu Yun was considered the calmest in the team and couldn't help but speak at this time. In the apocalypse, strength is everything. I, Xiangba, will show you today how strong I am. Ha 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 ha. Xiang Bei laughed loudly. Suddenly, the laughter stopped. He looked down at his chest, where a transparent spear was inserted, which had pierced his heart. Huang Chengjin was shocked. Xiangba. Seeing Xiang Bei's body slowly falling backwards, everyone was dumbfounded, including the instigator, Laoli. Laoli scratched his head blankly. No, I just tried to trick him. Will this kill him instantly? Hey, this joke is not funny at all. Stand up. Huang Chengjin was visibly panicked. Can you not panic? The main force was dead before the battle started. Should he be allowed to face the siege of 5 enemies? Isn't this a joke? This chapter is not finished yet. Click on the next chapter to continue reading chapter 138. Dark Gold Technique. All living beings are equal. He secretly glanced at Jingayan and found that Jingayan's face had not changed at all. He was still cold and calm, and he couldn't help but feel relieved. Sure enough, Xiangba stood up again, after falling down for more than 10 seconds, pulled out the transparent spear that penetrated the heart, and sneered. You're a very clever kid. You're just playing dirty tricks with me, right? It's great that you didn't die. Old Li shook his hands. I'll let you die too cheaply. I'm sorry for Xiaoxu. Okay, the warm-up is over, and it's time to get down to business. Xiangba suppressed his smile, suddenly took a step forward, and his expression became serious. At this moment, Xiangba seemed to have changed into a different person, with an aura of a king. Dark Gold Technique. Everyone. Life. Peace. Wait. Buzz. A ball of black light exploded from Xiang Bei's palm, instantly forming a barrier with a diameter of 5 kilometers that enveloped the entire battlefield. Xiangba spoke majestically. In this barrier, the highest combat power will be erased, and then the lowest combat power will be erased, and the remaining people's combat power will be evenly distributed. Do you feel any changes? Lin Wana hurriedly used the combat power detector to check, and her heart thumped. Now everyone's average combat power is 1050. That's right, it's 1050! Exclamation mark. The violent giant bear that Zhu Yun transformed into had its combat power greatly weakened, and its size had shrunk several times visibly to the naked eye. Everyone, come out. A group of men and women holding swords and shields sneered and poured out of the woods, surrounding the 5 people. Xiangba said with a cruel smile, although we all have 1050 combat power, our number is dozens of times yours. Now do you know why I'm invincible in every battle? An unprecedented sense of crisis lingered in everyone's heart. We can't fight. We have to run. Zhu Yun lowered his voice, although his voice was very low, but Xiangba still heard it. He laughed out loud. Run. Where can you run to? All the people around here are ours. Now, I'll give you three a chance. Xiangba pointed at Lin Wana, Ding Yuan and Sun Yan. Kneel down, lick my souls clean, and swear allegiance to me. You'd better give up this idea. Lin Wana is no longer the little white who knew nothing under Qin Lang's protection. She picked up the timber wolf and shot. Xiangba hurriedly hid aside. You ungrateful bitch. Brothers, come on. Dozens of people rushed forward. Break through. Old Li rushed to the front with a spear in each hand. This battle really can't be fought. After the combat power of both sides was averaged, he couldn't do any damage, even if he had the best skills. However, the five of them had been through hundreds of battles, and had never been afraid of the zombies. How could they be afraid of this group of people? With their superb experience and skills and tacit cooperation, they really killed their way out. Just as hope was in front of them, a figure appeared and blocked their way. Jingan held the knife in one hand and sneered. Jingan is here. No one can get through. Get out of the way. Lizard-like Ding Yuan rushed over and clawed. Jingan sneered, looking for death. Woo. A flash of light flashed, and Ding Yuan's body immediately spurted blood. Sun Yan screamed and flew backwards. Sun Yan hurriedly supported her and performed holy healing. I will kill you. The violent little bear screamed and tried to attack Jingan, but Jingan slashed again, and the thick fur was turned upside down on the spot, and blood gushed out. Old Zhu. This is not right. How can his fighting power be so strong? Lin Wana exclaimed. Chapter 139. I'm back. Isn't it a little late to find out, now that my combat power is different from yours? The corner of Jingan's mouth raised slightly. He took out a piece of animal skin from somewhere and gently wiped the blood-stained blade. I might as well tell you that my dark gold skill is called fair duel. As long as the combat power of both parties does not fluctuate more than 20 in this state, I will increase my combat power by 100. In other words, my current combat power is 2100, which is twice as much as yours. Xiangbai laughed loudly. All beings are equal and there is a fair fight. How do you win? What do you win with? Lin Wana's face was gloomy, and it was hard not to think about what decision Qin Lang would make if he were here. In the past, they relied too much on Qin language. Facing the chasing soldiers who were surrounding them with eager eyes, the five people's expressions were extremely ugly. Do you really want to fold it here? I hate to be long-winded, so I will send you on your way. Jingan waved his long sword, and the half-moon sword arc reappeared. Sun Yan, who was covered in armor, raised her shield to resist in front of everyone, but it was of no use. The shield and armor were chopped into pieces, and a large amount of blood flowed from her chest. Although the wound was not deep, it looked very scary, and the skin and flesh were turned open. Jingan, show mercy, don't kill the woman. Xiangba shouted hurriedly. I know, I have a sense of propriety. Jingan rolled his eyes at him, and when he drew his knife to kill the two men, a terrifying aura came from behind. He quickly drew his knife and turned around, and saw Zhao Qingsu and Zhao Zuki rushing over with hundreds of people. Zhao Qingsu Laoli looked ugly and very ashamed. Zhao Qingsu, however, did not care about the opposition at the meeting with Laoli and others, and said coldly, equality of all living beings seems very strong, but in fact it has a very obvious shortcoming. That is, whichever side has more people will have an absolute advantage. So, I brought all those who could fight in the shelter, including civilians, and there were more than 400 people. Now on average, the combat power of each person is only 2 to 300. /U003 CBR /U003 How do you know the weakness of my dark gold technique? Xiangba frowned, because what Zhao Qingsu said was absolutely true. What all living beings fear most is being outnumbered. Then, I have to thank your good subordinate Nifeng. After killing her, I stole part of her memories. Zhao Qingsu stood with her sword behind her back, looking at the embarrassed group of five, with a hint of sarcasm on her lips. He strengthened a lot of functional skills for me before going out to hunt. I thought he just gave me some unused bad cards. I even resented him, and now I finally understand why he did this. You have been going along smoothly under his leadership, meeting gods and killing gods, meeting ghosts and slaying ghosts, so it gives you the illusion that there are no masters in this world except you. Just like now, you don't even investigate. Attack suddenly whenever the other party has any ability. In fact, you guys are nothing more than that. Without him, you are nothing. What do you mean by this? Laoli's face turned red, but it was difficult to refute. It's boring. I'm just complaining and venting my emotions. After all, I, Zhao Qingsu, am not the kind of person who is used to keeping resentment in my stomach. Zhao Qingsu tucked a stray strand of hair behind her ear. Kill for me. Anyone who can kill the enemy with his own hands will be rewarded heavily. Anyone who kills 3 or more will be promoted to the captain's seat. Roar. Kill. Hundreds of people roared at the same time. Their eyes all red. Point. The original king of Changteng and now Captain Changteng, Kang Shun and Hang Dali looked at each other, and after all their subordinates rushed out, they took out their bags in tacit agreement. This chapter is not finished. Click the next chapter to continue reading chapter 139. I'm back. 2 handles Act 47. In what age are you still developing cold weapons? Are you tired? The truth is only within the range. Dignity is based on the area covered by guns and artillery. After saying that, these 2 shameless old fritters started to pull the trigger. Boundary, disperse. Xiangba saw it and thought it was okay, so he quickly removed the barrier. 1 second he had just removed the barrier, and the next second a violent giant bear rushed towards him. Lin Wana and the others regained their fighting strength, and suddenly the dragons and tigers became fierce, rushing towards Jingyan. Xiangba and the others hit your mother's ass. Huang Chengjin gasped and saw that no one was paying attention to him. He glanced at the military advisor and evacuated the scene with his remaining men. Walk. Xiangba is strong because he possesses a dark gold skill, equality of all beings, and the harvesting talent Jingyan. Now equality of all beings cannot use it. His combat power can only be regarded as so-so. How can he be the opponent of everyone? He lost in only 2 rounds. He turned back to call Huang Qingjin for help, only to find that the other party had already disappeared. Go, go. Xiangba yelled, let's go. Whichever way are you going? Leave it all to me. Zhu Yun was extremely corrupt. He had held back his arrogance and needed to vent his anger. He chased Xiangbei like crazy and finally defeated Xiangbei after an hour and a half of chasing. As for Jingyan, he had already turned into a pile of rotten meat under the siege of the masters. Thankfully, Xiangba and the others attract hatred, otherwise we wouldn't be able to escape. Huang Chengjin was still frightened. He was sure that no one was chasing him, and then he felt relieved. We will have to find more allies like Xiangbei in the future. The military advisor pushed up his glasses. I'm not afraid of the opponent's strong combat power, but I'm most afraid of the opponent's military advisor. I didn't expect Zhao Qingtu is such a capable female boss, so you'd better not think about the Long Vine shelter. How dare I think about that? It would be nice if I could save a little life. Huang Chengjin glanced at the fully formed team and said, brothers are all alive, so it's not a big problem. Let's stay away from Changteng's sphere of influence first. Swish, swish. Suddenly there was a strange sound from the trees ahead, and everyone looked over. I saw a young and handsome man appear from behind the trees, and both sides looked at each other in shock. Huang Chengjin raised his eyebrows. You, who are you? Changteng's pursuer, Long Vine chasing soldiers? I'm not. The young man shook his head. You mean the pursuers from Changvin Sanctuary? Why are they chasing you? Are you Huang Chengjin? Huang Chengjin's heart skipped a beat. Who are you? How do you know I'm Huang Chengjin? The man nodded. You are the ones who killed Qin Zhu. TSK. It's not like enemies don't get together. Who the hell are you? Who gave you the courage to talk to me like this? Huang Chengjin clicked the combat power detector, then he was confused. Because the man in front of him has a combat power value of 66. Is it broken? Huang Chengjin tapped the combat power detector. Die. The man raised his right hand, and dozens of black energy turned into spears and instantly penetrated the bodies of the group led by Huang Chengjin. Under the pressure of absolute combat power, they didn't even have a chance to scream. I came back and killed Huang Chengjin. By the way, Qin Lang finally entered the range of spiritual communication. Chapter 140, Revisiting the Childhood Underground Palace. Long Vine Shelter. After listening to what everyone said, Qin Lang sighed softly. Thankfully Kingsu is smart, otherwise you would really capsize in the gutter this time. Didn't you say it would take a week at the earliest to come back? Why did you arrive in 2 days? Zhao Kingsu looked at Qin Language. After more than a month of separation, Qin Lang's appearance did not change at all, but his eyes became more and more profound, especially the unfathomable aura on his body. Even if Qin Lang was not hostile at all, it would still make her feel scared. I don't know much about mime ability. Qin Lang smiled and touched the tip of his nose. I thought it would take a week at first, but I didn't expect that walking in a straight line would be so fast. Brother Qin, I'm sorry, I failed to protect Sister Xiaoxu. Sun Yan blamed herself. Qin Lang waved his hand. I don't blame any of you for this matter. Let the past pass. People are dead, and those of us who are alive should cherish life more. Qin Lang first poured some chicken soup for everyone's soul, and then got back to business, and talked about everyone's current situation and the situation of the shelter. Needless to say, Laoli and the others had very strong combat power when picked out alone. The hunting went very smoothly, and almost everyone made great progress. What surprised Qin Lang the most was Zhao Qingsu, the queen of the Long Vine. Her internal affairs skills were first rate. During the time when he was out hunting, she had already completed the preliminary city planning and had a complete set of household registrations, registration system, and several blocks with different functions are planned and managed differently. Apparently he had worked in municipal engineering before, or he was a staff member within the system. Zhao Qingsu led the way while pointing and introducing. I encourage residents to go out hunting and be self-sufficient, so I set up a trading area here to facilitate them to exchange cards. The trading area is a top priority, and I'm responsible for maintaining public security here. Gave it to Zuki, and she will be the captain. Thank you very much for what happened today. Without your support, I would have lost 5 old friends. Qin Lang changed the subject, leaving Zhao Qingsu at a loss. This is what I should do. Just think of these cards as small rewards. How about I take out Xiang Bei's equality of all beings and give them to you, or Zuki to use. Xiang Bei was not dead, but was seriously injured by Zhu Yun. He was staying in the dungeon at this time. If he did not draw his dark gold card immediately, it was because Qin Lang currently did not have any extra color card batteries in his hand, and the explosion rate of this thing was extremely low. Everything is at your discretion. Zhao Qingsu nodded obediently. By the way, there is something I need to vaccinate you in advance. Qin Lang looked around at this thriving shelter. If the individual is not strong enough, it will be useless, no matter how well the shelter is built. The Longvine shelter can only as a temporary residence. I will abandon it without hesitation in the event of an overwhelming attack. Did you know something? Zhao Qingsu was half of her own, and she already knew that Qin Lang had the ability to predict the future. The environment of the end of the world will only become more and more severe. If I'm not wrong, what awaits us next will be an eternal night with a death rate far exceeding that of extreme cold and heat. Eternal night? Zhao Qingsu had goosebumps all over her body. Yes, prepare lighting cards in advance. Qin Lang didn't say much about the more detailed content. It wasn't that he didn't want to say it, but he really knew too little. During the months when the eternal night fell in his previous life, he almost always hid in the shelter, just like the gates of wealthy people's houses. A yellow-flowered eldest daughter who has never left home returned to Longvine shelter the next afternoon. Qin Lang reclaimed a large area of farmland behind the mobile fortress and planted large areas of mushrooms. From now on, your task is to guard this mushroom field and not allow anyone to come near it. Yes. Kang Shun stood up straight. I heard from Qingsu that you have performed well recently. These cards are for you. You can use them yourself or give them to others. It doesn't matter. Qin Lang was quite generous, raising a dozen gold cards. Kang Shun's eyes turned red with excitement. Brother, you are my real brother. I'm willing to die for my eldest brother. Haha, you better be. After finishing the mushroom field, Qin Lang took out a lot of corpses from the space ring. When the broken corpse of the strange hand in the cave was thrown near the mushroom field, Kang Shun couldn't help but take a breath. What is this thing? Nothing, just a monster with 60,000 combat power. 660,000? Kang Shun forcibly resisted the urge to kneel down, and a thought came to his mind. He must hold Qin Lang's thigh tightly, and it would be best to weld himself to it point during dinner in the evening. Both Laoli and Zhu Yan expressed their intention to go hunting to Qin Lang point. Qin Lang would naturally not refuse this. I don't object to your eagerness to become stronger, but you must do what you can. I only give you one piece of advice. Prepare as many light sources as possible. The more the better. It is best to come back immediately after the dark giant appears. I estimate that it will take more than a month. It will enter the 5th stage. The 5th stage is Eternal Night. The best card to deal with Eternal Night is the gold card talent. He was blind in his previous life, and it is best to be promoted to LV3. I think I have this card. Lee rummaged through his storage box for a long time, and finally found the gold card. Is this card very important? I always thought it was garbage. It improves the perception of blindness. Wander around the city more and collect some blind cards. You also need to prepare some cards, such as silver card lanterns, white card candles, and blue card kerosene lamps. The more of these, the better. Then you will know what their uses are. Okay, I'm going to collect the card right now, and then go out hunting, after I get it done. Laoli showed a bright smile. Be careful and don't die outside, otherwise I will be sad. Don't worry, as long as you don't waste it, you will never die. Laoli, Zhu Yan, and Ying Yuan left on the 3rd day of Qin Lang's return point. Qin Lang was really uncomfortable losing Laoli, the loud-voiced and playful Zuding couple. He had to wait for them to come back before he could see the giant bear fighting the lizard man again. This afternoon, Qin Lang came to the door of the childhood underground palace again. At this time, his text researcher has learned level 5 and can decipher 90 messages. The 32 identical gold cards required for higher levels are not something that can be found in a short while, and there is no need for it at the moment. Qin Lang, who re-entered the underground palace, turned into a child again. What was different from the last time was that he appeared next to the altar, and the ghost woman was standing there with a strange smile on his face, holding in his hand something that Qin Lang couldn't understand at all. Of scrolls. Qin Lang took the scroll and read it at a glance, finally understanding what the ghost woman's mission was. Don't worry, I will definitely help you kill them. Longvine Shelter. After listening to what everyone said, Qin Lang sighed softly. Thankfully Kingsu is smart, otherwise you would really capsize in the gutter this time. Didn't you say it would take a week at the earliest to come back? Why did you arrive in 2 days? Zhao Kingsu looked at Qin Language. After more than a month of separation, Qin Lang's appearance did not change at all, but his eyes became more and more profound, especially the unfathomable aura on his body. Even if Qin Lang was not hostile at all, it would still make her feel scared. I don't know much about mime ability. Qin Lang smiled and touched the tip of his nose. I thought it would take a week at first, but I didn't expect that walking in a straight line would be so fast. Brother Qin, I'm sorry, I failed to protect Sister Xiaoxu. Sun Yan blamed herself. Qin Lang waved his hand. I don't blame any of you for this matter. Let the past pass. People are dead, and those of us who are alive should cherish life more. Qin Lang first poured some chicken soup for everyone's soul, and then got back to business, and talked about everyone's current situation and the situation of the shelter. Needless to say, Laoli and the others had very strong combat power when picked out alone. The hunting went very smoothly, and almost everyone made great progress. What surprised Qin Lang the most was Zhao Kingsu, the queen of the Long Vine. Her internal affairs skills were first rate. While he was out hunting, she had already completed the preliminary city planning, and had a complete set of household registrations, registration system, and several blocks with different functions are planned and managed differently. Apparently he had worked in municipal engineering before, or he was a staff member within the system. Zhao Kingsu led the way, while pointing and introducing. I encourage residents to go out hunting and be self-sufficient, so I set up a trading area here to facilitate them to exchange cards. The trading area is a top priority, and I'm responsible for maintaining law and order here. Gave it to Zuki, and she will be the captain. Thank you very much for what happened today. Without your support, I would have lost 5 old friends. Qin Lang changed the subject, leaving Zhao Qingsu at a loss. This is what I should do. Just think of these cards as small rewards. How about I take out Xiang Bei's equality of all beings and give them to you or Zuki to use. Xiang Bei is not dead, but was seriously injured by Zhu Yun. He is currently staying in the dungeon. If he does not draw his dark gold card immediately, it is because Qin Lang currently has no extra color card battery in his hand, and the explosion rate of this thing is extremely low. Everything is at your discretion. Zhao Qingsu nodded obediently. By the way, there is something I need to vaccinate you in advance. Qin Lang looked around at this thriving shelter. If the individual is not strong enough, it will be useless, no matter how well the shelter is built. The Longvine shelter can only as a temporary residence. I will abandon it without hesitation in the event of an overwhelming attack. Did you know something? Zhao Qingsu was half of her own, and she already knew that Qin Lang had the ability to predict the future. The environment of the apocalypse will only become more and more severe. If I'm not wrong, what awaits us next will be an eternal night with a death rate far exceeding that of extreme cold and heat. Eternal night? Zhao Qingsu had goosebumps all over her body. Yes, prepare lighting cards in advance. Qin Lang didn't say much about the more detailed content. It wasn't that he didn't want to say it, but he really knew too little. During the months when the eternal night fell in his previous life, he almost always hid in the shelter. Just like the gates of wealthy people's houses, a yellow-flowered eldest daughter who has never left home. Returned to Longvine shelter the next afternoon. Qin Lang reclaimed a large area of farmland behind the mobile fortress and planted large areas of mushrooms. From now on, your task is to guard this mushroom field and not allow anyone to come near it. Yes. Kang Shun stood upright. I heard from Qingsu that you have performed well recently. These cards are for you. You can use them yourself or give them to others. It doesn't matter. Qin Lang was quite generous, raising a dozen gold cards. Kang Shun's eyes turned red with excitement. Brother, you are my real brother. I'm willing to die for my eldest brother. Haha, you better be. After finishing the mushroom field, Qin Lang took out a lot of corpses from the space ring. When the broken corpse of the strange hand in the cave was thrown near the mushroom field, Kang Shun couldn't help but take a breath. What is this thing? Nothing, just a monster with 60,000 combat power. 660,000. Kang Shun forcibly resisted the urge to kneel down, and a thought came to his mind. He must hold Qin Lang's thigh tightly, and it would be best to weld himself to it. During dinner in the evening, both Laoli and Zhu Yun expressed their intention to go hunting to Qin language. Qin Lang would naturally not refuse this. I don't object to your eagerness to become stronger, but you must do what you can. I only give you one piece of advice. Prepare as many light sources as possible. The more the better. It is best to come back immediately after the dark giant appears. I estimate that it will take more than a month. It will enter the 5th stage. The 5th stage is Eternal Night. The best card to deal with Eternal Night is the gold card Talent. He was blind in his previous life, and it is best to be promoted to LV3. I think I have this card. Li rummaged through his storage box for a long time, and finally found the gold card. Is this card very important? I always thought it was garbage. It improves the perception of blindness. Wander around the city more and collect some blind cards. You also need to prepare some cards, such as silver card lanterns, white card candles, and blue card kerosene lamps. The more of these, the better. Then you will know what their uses are. Okay, I'm going to collect the card right now and then go out hunting after I get it done. Laoli showed a bright smile. Be careful and don't die outside, otherwise I will be sad. Don't worry. As long as you don't waste it, you will never die. Li, Zhu Yun, and Ying Yuan left on the 3rd day of Qin Lang's return. Qin Lang was really uncomfortable losing Laoli, the loud-voiced and playful Zuding couple. He had to wait for them to come back before he could see the giant bear fighting the lizard man again. This afternoon, Qin Lang came to the door of the childhood underground palace again. At this time, his text researcher has learned level 5 and can decipher 90 messages. The 32 identical gold cards needed to go up are not something that can be found in a short while, and there is no need for it at the moment. Qin Lang who re-entered the underground palace, turned into a child again. What was different from the last time was that he appeared next to the altar, and the ghost woman was standing there with a strange smile on his face, holding in his hand something that Qin Lang couldn't understand at all. Of scrolls. Qin Lang took the scroll and read it at a glance, finally understanding what the ghost woman's mission was. Don't worry, I will definitely help you kill them. Chapter 141 Evil Thoughts. Attracting Qin Lang's attention, he quickly squatted down and looked over there. 7 children walked out of the mist one after another. Looking at their clothes, they were all white, composed of 5 boys and 2 girls. This should be the old location that the witch mentioned. Everyone is ready. Todd, it's up to you. The boy called. Todd nodded. After his companions formed a fighting formation, he raised his arms and a high temperature fireball appeared in his hands. Ignis. The fireball crashed into the wooden house point with a loud bang. The monster in the wooden house was alarmed and let out an angry roar. Then a deformed monster rushed out from inside. Its bloated and twisted body was covered with limbs and tumors. From a distance, it looked like a diseased tree of Dryad, the mother of evil thoughts. Qin Lang nodded, consistent with the description of the scroll point. At this time, the 7 children below had already fought with the mother of evil thoughts. These 7 men were apparently a complete elite team, with a knight, 2 swordsmen, 3 magicians, and a priest. Although unable to use external weapons, they still relied on tacit cooperation to fight the mother of evil thoughts back and forth. Very ornamental. This group of guys is very ornamental. Strong, with a combat power of about 2. If I were to be taken out, Leoli and the others might not be able to defeat this team for sure. Since someone took the lead, Qin Lang was naturally happy and relaxed. He watched the show from a high position and studied the tactics of these 7 people. Actually, there is no strategy. It is nothing more than the knight in front to attract the attention of the mother of evil thoughts. The 2 swordsmen guard the 3 magicians and prevent attacks from falling on them. The main output is the 3 magicians who use fire magic to attack from a distance. The priest himself then at the end of the team helped them heal and increase their buff status. The 2 sides fought fiercely for more than 10 minutes, and the mother of evil thoughts was covered in scars and was about to be captured. It suddenly turned its head and howled at the wooden house that had been bombarded into ruins. The change occurred at this moment. The wooden house. The father of evil thoughts is coming out. Everyone, be careful. The knight captain reminded. As soon as the words were spoken, the tombstone cracked and dozens of zombies emerged from it. They moved at extremely terrifying speeds and immediately surrounded the 7 people. Point in the direction of the wooden house. The father of evil thoughts also showed his true form. It was a zombie about the same size as a Big Mac. The weapon in his hand was the bone of a certain creature. With a seemingly random hit, he knocked the knight captain back 5 feet. 6 steps. This thing is so powerful. I can't hold on for long. Damn it, hurry up and support me. The knight captain shouted. Unfortunately, his companions were being entangled by a group of zombies that were full of life, and they couldn't help him at all. Evil father's combat power is actually 24. Evil thought's mother's combat power is also 15. Isn't there something wrong? Qin Lang looked at it with the combat power detector and frowned. This is just the lowest level of the underground palace. Why are there monsters with such abnormal combat power? Theoretically, in low-level underground palaces, there will be no creatures with more than 2 combat power. Qin Lang was still thinking about it. The battle below was coming to an end. Under siege by 2 monsters and a group of zombies, the 7-man team dragged their injured bodies and fled in panic. It's time to take action. Qin Lang casually grabbed a stone and threw it from a distance, hitting the head of the father of evil thoughts. The father of evil thoughts slowly turned his head and looked at Qin Lang, who had been hiding in the dark. Chapter 142. The Pond of the Evil Ghost. Let's fight quickly. Qin Lang moved his arms and smiled. Let's see if I can kill you within 10 seconds. 5th gear, the power of the elephant. The father of evil thoughts seemed to be able to understand Qin Lang's words and expressed his dissatisfaction with roaring. But in the next second, the eyes of the father of evil thoughts changed. The boy, who did not look very powerful, actually jumped up and raised his right arm. A circle of black energy was released, and the black energy condensed into a huge fist, which hit the father of evil thoughts firmly. Boom. The upper body of the father of evil thoughts was instantly destroyed and turned into powder. This monster with a combat power of 25, which could easily defeat an elite team, was so easily killed instantly that it didn't even have a chance to resist. The mother of evil thoughts chasing the 7-person team seemed to sense something and immediately gave up the pursuit, rushing back to the cemetery with a group of zombies, and was greeted by Qin Lang's second punch. Boom. The already scarred mother of evil thoughts was shattered on the spot by the iron fist, condensed by the touch of darkness. As for the group of zombies, after losing the breath blessing of the 2 leaders of evil thoughts, their bodies quickly shriveled up and turned into a pile of bones. It is indeed a secret treasure of the beast fighting realm. It is more powerful than I imagined, at least twice as powerful. If I were to face the big head from 2 months ago, I might be able to kill it without getting stuck in the wall. Qin Lang dispersed the touch of darkness, wiped the sweat from his forehead, and murmured, however, the physical consumption is also huge. The consumption of these 2 strokes is enough for me to use dozens of holy slashes. While Qin Lang was resting in place, Zhao took back the special card in Evil Thought's body. Let's go back to meet the witch. Qin Lang said hello and took Zhao back the same waypoint as for the 7 foreign friends who had fled. Qin Lang did not add insult to injury to hunt them down. After all, at his level of combat power, the benefits brought to him by killing were too small, far less than those from killing monsters. /U003 CBR /U003 Instead of wasting time chasing people, it is better to find more powerful monsters to kill. Half a day later, Qin Lang returned to the altar and handed 2 special cards and scrolls to the ghost woman. A bright smile appeared on the twisted face of the ghost woman. It took out a dark gold card from its arms with its slender fingers like dead branches and handed it to Qin Lang as a reward. Qin Lang took the dark gold card and looked at it. His eyes suddenly lit up. Because what the hag gave him turned out to be a special piece of dark gold. The Pond of Evil Thoughts hag. In the pool of evil thought hags, you can obtain evil thoughts by killing monsters and upgrade the cards in the pool up to the highest level of dark gold cards. Qin Lang couldn't wait to tear open the card of the Pond of Evil Thoughts to study. As a golden light flashed, Qin Lang clearly found that a small pool appeared in his body. In the middle of the pool was the statue of the hag, with his hands raised high, as if he was holding something. At this time, there was neither water nor cards in the pool. When Qin Lang placed the extra Team Glory dark gold card into the hands of the ghost statue slowly opened its eyes and swallowed the Team Glory into its mouth. Pointing to the pool with both hands, Qin Lang immediately understood what this meant. This is an auxiliary skill that copies cards. It has no offensive and defensive capabilities, but it is an absolute fantasy card. As long as you keep hunting and pouring evil thoughts into the pool, when it reaches a certain level, the evil thought hag pond will be able to copy identical cards. Try looking for a monster. Qin Lang was very excited and was about to leave the secret realm when a discordant voice: "This chapter is not finished yet. Click on the next chapter to continue reading." Chapter 142. The Pond of Evil Thought Hags came from a distance. "You are the only one who dares to enter the secret realm. Have you never died before?" Qin Lang turned around and saw that it was the dog-like group of 7 who had been chased by the evil leader at this time. They had recovered from their injuries after resting and were looking at him with evil intentions. Seeing that Qin Lang didn't respond, the Knight Captain sarcastically said, "It seems that he doesn't understand what we are saying. This kid doesn't look very strong. How about killing him to relieve his anger? Although I don't agree with indiscriminate killing, it is undeniable that I'm really angry and need someone to vent my anger. Just do as you say." The female magician in the team nodded. "You want to kill me?" Qin Lang was amused. "Oh, so you can understand what we are saying. So you should also know your current situation. If you are willing to obey, we may spare your life for the sake of God and allow you to be our slave." The Knight Captain had an arrogant expression on his face, completely mistaking Qin Lang for a small character who strayed into the secret realm. Qin Lang rubbed the tip of his nose. "God, what is his combat power?" The Knight Captain heard this provocation and raised his eyebrows. "You are looking for death. I come." The swordsman and the team suddenly jumped out and struck Qin Lang fiercely. Qin Lang remained motionless quietly looking at this white man who didn't know the heights of heaven and earth. Haha, this kid was so scared. The same reaction as those we enslaved. White people are the best race in the world. All other races should perish. The 6 people were chatting and laughing because in their opinion, Qin Lang would be killed if he couldn't even block the swordsman's move. However, things developments are often unexpected. Seeing the long sword about to fall, dozens of tentacles made of black gas entangled the swordsman's body, leaving him suspended in the air and unable to move. Qin Lang smiled and said, "Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you one thing. If you go back to the cemetery, you will know that the evil father and evil mother who beat you up before have been killed by me." Nonsense. Those 2 monsters are so strong. How can you kill them alone? Put Will down quickly. Otherwise, I will be rude to you. The knight captain said angrily. "Oh, listen to you, Qin Lang exerted a little force, and the swordsman Will was torn into pieces on the spot, and the broken body parts fell like raindrops, which stunned the 6 people. I put the people down. Is there anything else I need to do? Qin Lang walked forward with a smile. Will got what happened? Will was killed by him in a second. Is this an illusion? Will has a combat power of 16. No, this is not an illusion. But how did this happen? I don't understand. The 6-man team was confused and shocked. It's not that they can't accept the death of their teammates, but they can't accept that their teammates died in such an unclear way. The opponent only used one skill to kill the strongest swordsman in the team. Is this yellow-skinned man in front of him a human or a monster? It's your turn. Qin Lang raised his mouth and whispered, "Third gear, leopard's acumen." Swish. Qin Lang brought up a series of after images and came to the knight captain in the next second. When their eyes met, the knight captain felt like he was facing a prehistoric beast. No. The knight captain trembled and squeezed out 2 words from his teeth. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 143, Texas Insect Tide. You know you regret it now? Sorry, it's too late. Qin Lang raised a hint of sarcasm at the corner of his mouth and directly broke the knight captain's neck. Oh god. Captain. Oh my god. What kind of monster is this? The remaining 5 people were stunned. The captain, who was almost invincible in melee combat, was killed instantly. Even if it happened right in front of their eyes, they didn't want to believe that it was true. As the body of the knight captain fell softly, the 5 remaining people dispersed and fled in all directions. If I'll let you escape, where will my face go? Qin Lang smiled and chased after him with a series of after images. 10 minutes later, Qin Lang pinched the last blunt doll and said, "Whether you want to die or live, it all depends on you. For God's sake, spare me. I want to live." This doll is the priest in the team, named Shatata. She begged, "As long as you don't kill me, you can do anything you want me to do. I have a few questions for you." Qin Lang let go of Shatata. "Where are you from, and what is the environment there now?" I said, "We're from Texas, Devon. We control a huge sanctuary. They call me the 7 Horsemen." Shatata hurriedly told Qin Lang the information he had in detail and took him to the entrance under Qin Lang's instructions. In order to confirm whether his guess was correct, Qin Lang pinched Shatata's neck and walked into the flashing barrier with her. Still briefly dizzy, after the dizziness ended, Qin Lang opened his eyes and looked at his surroundings. To be honest, this place is almost like a vine, with the devastated land, huge eyeball monsters floating in the sky, and heartbreaking screams coming from all around from time to time. Eyeball? Qin Lang noticed something was wrong. 003. The monsters in the sky here are different from the long vines. The monsters different in each area. Just as Qin Lang was thinking, a deputy armed team rushed over. "Captain Shatata, it's not good. As soon as you entered, our shelter was attacked by a wave of insects. Now it is in danger. If you don't go back, the shelter will be destroyed. So it's over." Why are you the only one coming back? Shatata glanced at Qin Lang and said hurriedly, "The captain has more important things to do, so let me come back alone." This Mr. Qin is our distinguished guest. Hello, Mr. Qin. Although the man who spoke an authentic foreign language, he was of yellow race and should have immigrated here. Qin Lang nodded. Take me to your shelter. This way. At that moment, a group of people sat in a 3-meter tall giant off-road vehicle and rushed towards the shelter on the way back. Everyone was besieged by a large number of bugs. Each of these bugs was 2 meters high, with a strong shell and sickle-like sharp claws. The damage caused by ordinary thermal weapons to them was almost negligible. However, this group of soldiers who had lived in the apocalypse for more than half a year were not fuel-efficient lamps. They picked up weapons and fought with the insects and wiped out dozens of insects in a moment. It seems that the apocalypse here in Texas is indeed different from that in China. Although bugs were also encountered in China, the number was not large, unlike here where they swarmed and even formed a tide of bugs. The group of people arrived at the outskirts of the shelter. Even though Qin Lang was mentally prepared, he was slightly shocked by the scene in front of him. Reflected. This chapter is not finished yet. Click on the next chapter to continue reading chapter 143. Texas insect tide. What you see is a 100-meter high wall, and outside the high wall are tens of thousands of bugs. These bugs come one after another, filling the land outside the wall by stacking corpses. At this time, it is 60 or 70 meters high. In addition to ordinary sickle bugs, the insect tide is also mixed with many smaller, winged flying bugs. Their attack method is to spray strong acid from their anus to corrode the enemy. Hey, there are also big guys? Qin Lang looked further in the direction and saw a large number of fat green insects that were taller than houses, moving slowly, and their bloated bodies were slowly glowing. That's a plasma bug. It can eject plasma from its anus, causing area-wide damage. It's extremely damaging to buildings. Even if our city walls are reinforced, it's impossible to withstand an attack of this scale. Zyatata has already said, completely forgetting that he and Qin Lang were opposites. He actually asked for his help. Mr. Qin, please save our shelter. Once the shelter is lost, all of us will become food for the Zerg. What? Does the loss of your sanctuary have to do with me? Ms. Shatata, have you forgotten that not long ago you wanted to kill me? This Zayata was speechless. Do you have a place to stock up on cards? Qin Lang's words reminded Zayatata. Her eyes lit up and she said, there are some. We have a special card warehouse, which is in the captain's basement. I can take you to get it. You'd better not lie to me. Qin Lang moved his hands and feet and took out the ice sword that was exchanged from the pale blood corpse point. As soon as the ice sword was taken out, the temperature inside the car suddenly dropped by more than 10 degrees, and some people couldn't help but shiver. Drive forward, Qin Lang said. But there is a tide of insects ahead. Once we are surrounded, we will what bug wave? Qin Lang glanced at him sideways, raising his hand and sweeping out a sword. The holy slash, which mixed the double damage of light and freezing, fell into the swarm of insects. Hundreds of insects were instantly wiped out, and a large blank space appeared there. No. You are a messenger sent by God to rescue us. Thank God. A group of people began to cross their chests devoutly. Qin Lang sneered at this. He was a staunch atheist. If there were really gods, Buddhas, and gods in this world, then there wouldn't be so many evil people who did evil, but were not punished. The so-called religion is just another form of rule. It's the end of the world, and God hasn't come to save you. Your faith is still quite firm. Qin Lang sneered and continued to draw his sword, killing a large number of insects. When the off-road vehicle drove to the entrance under the city wall, the number of insects killed by Qin Lang reached thousands. Open the door. Open the door. The driver slammed the horn frantically. The secret door that could just accommodate the vehicle opened, and everyone rushed in. Take me to the basement to get the card. Qin Lang raised his hand and grabbed Zayatata's neck, ignoring the inner city which had already been in chaos. The world is big. Earning cards is the biggest. 5-star General MacArthur once said, in the end-time environment, nothing is more important than strengthening yourself. Boom boom boom. The city wall attacked by plasma worms was crumbling, and the residents were panicking and running around. Some sickle worms rushed in from some gap and launched a bloody and cruel massacre against the civilians. Qin Lang didn't even bother to take a look. After arriving at the destination, he pushed Zayatata directly into the captain's residence. Chapter 144. Exterminating Insects Alone. The captain's residence is a relatively solid 2-story building. It is a card building with a gold card level. It will be difficult for ordinary sickle bugs to break through it for a while. After entering, Qin Lang led Zayatata and found the basement smoothly. However, the captain's collection was far less than what Zayatata had described. There were only a few thousand blue, green, and white cards. This is not a good thing to say. Yes, it's not enough to fill the gap between Qin Lang's teeth. However, Qin Lang still threw the card storage box into the storage space, based on the principle that the grasshopper's legs are also meat. As for you, Qin Lang touched the tip of his nose and seemed to feel the murderous intent of the man in front of him. Zayatata exclaimed, "Please don't kill me. I have never done anything bad. Everything was done by the captain and the others. I'm their team member. You can only do evil with them. They are all dead, so of course you can say whatever you want. Besides, whether I kill you or not has nothing to do with whether you have done bad things or not." Qin Lang corrected Zayata, "You have to tell me what value you have. Forget your priest ability. I won't be hurt at all when fighting this level of insectide." Zayatata suddenly pulled off her clothes and said, "As long as you don't kill me, you can do anything to me." Qin Lang pinched his eyebrows and said, "I'm not sexually interested in you." This is really not Qin Lang's faking. A group of bugs are crying and howling outside, and the plasma bugs are also constantly releasing plasma. In this case, who would bother to think about these messy things? Even though Zayata Tower is really big white, forget it. I'd better kill the bugs. You'd better keep close. If you fall behind and get killed by bugs, you won't be able to blame me." Qin Lang walked out of the 2-story building without looking back. A dozen sickle bugs smelled his breath and rushed over screaming. As a result, they were pierced through the body by a spear made of black tentacles halfway through the rush. "God, please protect me. Help. I don't want to die." Screams came and went. A large number of cracks appeared in the surrounding city walls under the bombardment of a large number of plasma bugs. Countless sickle bugs and flying insects swarmed in. Though survivors with only a few hundred or even dozens of fighting strength were no match for the Zerg army, they were killed in one encounter kill point. In contrast, Qin Lang's side was another scene. He was holding an ice sword and constantly releasing the holy sword to harvest the insect swarms. The terrifying insects were as vulnerable to a blow as ants in front of him. Some smart survivors discovered that Qin Lang's combat power was amazing and followed him spontaneously. Instead of driving them away, Qin Lang protected them and broke out of the shelter without delay. After Qin Lang cleared a safe area, there were as many as 200 to 300 survivors behind him. "Let them stay here and don't run around," Qin Lang informed. Zayatata hurriedly said, "Mr. Qin, what about you? You're stupid. There are so many bugs. How can we rebuild the shelter if they can't be wiped out?" Zayatata felt dizzy and said, "This is a swarm of insects. How can you defeat it with only one person? Killing thousands of bugs and killing the insectide are two completely different concepts." Qin Lang told Zayatata the answer with practical actions. He raised his right hand and released a thick green poisonous mist. This is the third apostle skill, deadly poison cloud. Where the poisonous cloud passed by, those sickle bugs fell to the ground in pieces. Although they did not die immediately, they all lost their ability to fight. The Zerg itself has a certain degree of resistance to the poisonous fog. Who is Captain Zaya? He is too powerful. This chapter is not finished yet. Click on the next chapter to continue reading chapter 144. Fighting the insectide alone harmed. More powerful than the captain. It must be an angel sent by God to protect us. Shut up, Zayata interrupted everyone rudely. Mr. Qin Lang is an atheist. Don't mention God or angels in front of him, or your life will be risked. Everyone was immediately silent, not daring to speak anymore. TSK. There were bursts of sound piercing the air, and plasma bugs a few hundred meters away exploded one after another. The plasma that was too late to be launched exploded on the spot, blasting out a large blank area. The Easterners, who are capable of melee combat, long distance control, and have mysterious field control, are so scary. Zayatata's eyes changed from fear to admiration. She couldn't bear the thought of the idiot captain of the night actually wanting to attack such a monster. He cursed in a low voice. What is this? If I'm not seeking death, how long does it take to kill a complete insect wave? Qin Lang gave the answer. 1 hour and 27 minutes standing on the mountain of corpses piled up by Zerg corpses. Qin Lang wiped his sweat silently. He was in urgent need of rest and food. Zaya Tata, lead them to collect the cards and hand them over to me. If anyone dares to keep the cards for themselves, kill them. Zayata hurriedly said. Mr. Qin, please don't worry. I will never allow anyone to hide the card privately. Leave it to me to clean up the battlefield. Qin Lang turned around and disappeared at the end of the mountain of corpses and sea of bones. Early the next morning, Qin Lang, who had rested all night in the basement, completely recovered his energy. When he appeared on the street again, most of the corpses on the street had been burned. When the people who were cleaning up the battlefield saw Qin Lang, they all looked at him in awe. Where are the Shatata people, Mr. Qin Lang? Captain Zaya is organizing people to repair the east wall. She said that if you wake up and want to find her, go to the east wall. The speaker was an old man with a red nose holding a broom. Oh, I understand. Qin Lang nodded. Mr. Qin language. The red-nosed old man bowed to Qin Lang and said with tears in his eyes, thank you very much. If it weren't for you, my granddaughter and I would have been eaten by insects long ago. It's nothing. Qin Lang smiled lightly. Let's work. The east wall. Zaya Tata handed 5 large boxes of cards to Qin Lang. Mr. Qin, these are the cards collected so far, and there are about 13 more that we haven't had time to get. There are too many corpses and we have too few manpower. Yes, it seems that I'm right not to kill you. Qin Lang put the card away and said, continue to put it away. After everything here is settled, go to the captain's small building to find me. I still have some things to ask. Yes, Mr. Qin language watching. Qin Lang, go away. Zaya Tata waved his whip and shouted, hurry up. The battlefield must be cleaned before noon, otherwise no one will be able to eat. Captain's 2-story building. Qin Lang tasted the delicious seafood dinner and drank red wine. Standing next to her was Zaya Tata, who had already changed into a maid's outfit. She was carrying a wine flask and she would take the initiative to refill it every time Qin Lang took a sip of red wine. You don't have to dress like this to please me. I don't kill meritorious people. Qin Lang glanced at her sideways. Zaya Tata whispered, before the end of the world, I used to be a maid shop employee, and pouring wine for customers was my main job. Don't tell me these things that I'm not interested in at all. Tell me about what you have experienced in the last days until now. The more detailed the better. Qin Lang forked a piece of salmon and put it into his mouth. Chapter 145. Big Shot. Through in-depth communication with Zaya Tata, Qin Lang confirmed his suspicions. The end of the world is the end of the world. No city or country can be spared. But the difference is that the monsters in each region are different. For example, in China, Qin Lang and the others have experienced bloody heart, extreme cold, scorching heat, and now rest. Expect. In Texas, they have experienced the invasion of bugs from beginning to end. They have been fighting massive bugs for more than half a year without experiencing any harsh weather at all. All I can say is that you people in Texas are living a really happy life. Qin Lang was already full. He took the handkerchief handed over by Zaya Tata and wiped the corners of his mouth gracefully. According to what you said, there should be a lot of shelters in Texas. After all, what you are facing are just bugs. Just bugs. Zaya Tata couldn't laugh or cry. Millions of people died under the crazy attacks of these insects. Is that all? There are indeed many complete shelters. Because I have dealt with bugs a lot, I know how to deal with them. If the captain and others don't die, although we can't wipe out the insect tide, it shouldn't be a big problem to defend a shelter. Zaya Tata, he answered honestly. Okay, take me to other shelters after the battlefield here is cleaned up. Okay. Mr. Qin, can I get a card? I killed all the bugs. Of course they all belong to me. Qin Lang glanced at her. Leave some white and green cards for them. Who makes me a kind person? Zaya Tata's beautiful face twitched. I thank you on behalf of the survivors of the shelter. When Zaya Tata went to direct the cleaning of the battlefield, Qin Lang glanced at the pool of evil thoughts of the ghost woman. He was pleasantly surprised to find that 110 evil thoughts had been accumulated in the pool. In other words, as long as he killed 10 more waves of insects, he would have won a dark gold card. Team Glory expands the team's quota. Looks like I have to stay here for a while. Nothing happened that day. Qin Lang went back to sleep after eating and drinking. When Qin Lang stretched out and went out the next morning, Zayatata had already changed into a sexy and revealing outfit and was waiting for him at the door. It was clear that he was seducing Qin language. However, Qin Lang didn't take this trick. He stared at the 2 lumps of white meat on Zayatata's chest and said seriously, "Take me to the nearest shelter." Zayatata shook his body and said, "Okay sir, I have found the driver." The giant off-road vehicle started and took Qin Lang and Zayatata to the Zin Sanctuary. The reason why it was called this name was because the boss of the shelter was named Richard Zin, and people used to call him Boss Zin. Zitata, it's a miracle that you are still alive. I thought your shelter was finished. Richard Zin looked surprised. Why are you the only one here? Where are the others? They're all dead, Zayatata said in an understatement. Richard Zin sighed. Oh, my poor brother, it's so hard to survive until now. He's dead now. Come in. Richard Zin thought Qin Lang was Zayatata's slave and never looked at him seriously from beginning to end. Entering the shelter, Qin Lang looked around. This sanctuary not only has towering city walls, but the buildings inside are also very well preserved. Overall, it should have been a large community before the end of the world. Come in. Please take a seat. It's just like you're at home here. Don't be polite. Richard Zin was very enthusiastic and moved for Zayatata to take a seat. Zayatata glanced at Qin language. After getting approval, he took his seat and said, "The purpose of today, I came here to trade some cards with you. The cards I need have been written on. There are some proportions here. See if you have a lot." Charlie Sheen read the cards at a glance and said, "Oh, I do have some of the cards you want, but the ratio is too low. But it doesn't matter. We are all family members. We will have someone prepare the cards for you right away. Thank you, Boss Zin." Zayatata, what are your plans for the future? Your personal defense against the insect wave must have suffered heavy casualties, so why not bring the survivors to join my shelter? As long as I, Richard Zin, have a mouthful of food, you will never go hungry. What Richard Zin said was righteous, but Qin Lang discovered that this bearded man's eyes never left Zayatata's chest point. Zayatata pretended to be confused and deliberately crossed her arms to further squeeze her advantage. "We'll talk about joining your sanctuary later. Today we are just talking about the deal." Okay, Richard Zin lit a cigar and took a few puffs when there was a rush of footsteps outside the door. Boom. A dozen men in turbans kicked open the door and rushed in. Each of them had a sword in his hand and looked at him with eager expressions. Zayatata frowned. "Boss Zin, what do you mean?" Richard Zin changed his previous heroic attitude and said with a smile, "What do you mean? Don't you understand enough? When your captain was alive, I respected him 3 points, but now that he is dead, what can you do to negotiate a deal with me?" Boss Zin, the relationship between our 2 shelters has always been very good. Zayatata was not afraid at all and was joking. Behind her was Qin Lang, the god of war, so there was nothing to be afraid of. Yes, our relationship was indeed good at that time, but that was all based on the balance of combat power in our shelter. Now who are you talking about a relationship with me? Richard Sheen spread his hands and smiled with a wicked smile. Zayatata, don't worry, I'm not willing to kill you. As long as you accompany me well, and let me and my brothers have enough fun, I will consider letting you go back. Ha 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 ha. Zayatata laughed. Richardson, you don't think that I'm so stupid that I just come to trade with you without any preparation, do you? Do you know who is going to make the trade? He is a powerful man. Oh, scaring me, scaring you? There is no need. Now I must correct you. We did not defend against the insect tide, but took the initiative to eliminate the insect tide. It was the big shot who took action. Zayatata is a smart woman who flatters like crazy point. Although Qin Lang knew it well, he still felt comfortable being photographed, and he would not easily think of killing her now. It would be nice to just have a cat or dog. Okay, you call this big shot and let me get to know him. If he is as powerful as you say, why would he trade with me? Wouldn't it be faster to just rob him? As soon as Richardson finished speaking, his throat was pinched by a strange black hand. Qin Lang smiled and said, "You are right. It is indeed faster to grab. You wanna die? Fuck, let go of the boss." A dozen younger brothers shouted wildly. Qin Lang glanced at them, and the next second, their hearts were penetrated by dark tentacles, and they died on the spot. Through in-depth communication with Zayatata, Qin Lang confirmed his suspicions. The end of the world is the end of the world. No city or country can be spared. But the difference is that the monsters in each region are different. For example, in China, Qin Lang and the others have experienced bloody heart, extreme cold, scorching heat, and now rest. Expect. In Texas, they have experienced the invasion of bugs from beginning to end. They have been fighting massive bugs for more than half a year without experiencing any harsh weather at all. All I can say is that you people in Texas are living a really happy life. Qin Lang was already full. He took the handkerchief handed over by Zayata and wiped the corners of his mouth gracefully. According to what you said, there should be a lot of shelters in Texas. After all, what you are facing are just bugs. Just bugs. Zayata couldn't laugh or cry. Millions of people died under the crazy attacks of these insects. Is that all? There are indeed many complete shelters. Because I have dealt with bugs a lot, I know how to deal with them. If the captain and others don't die, although we can't wipe out the insect tide, it shouldn't be a big problem to defend the shelter. Zayata, he answered honestly. Okay, take me to other shelters after the battlefield here is cleaned up. Okay. Mr. Qin, can I get a card? I killed all the bugs. Of course they all belong to me. Qin Lang glanced at her. Leave some white and green cards for them. Who makes me a kind person? Zayata's beautiful face twitched. I thank you on behalf of the survivors of the shelter. When Zayata went to direct the cleaning of the battlefield, Qin Lang glanced at the pool of evil thoughts of the ghost woman. He was pleasantly surprised to find that 110 evil thoughts had been accumulated in the pool. In other words, as long as he killed 10 more waves of insects, he would have won a dark gold card. Team Glory expands the team's quota. Looks like I have to stay here for a while. Nothing happened that day. Qin Lang went back to sleep after eating and drinking. When Qin Lang stretched out and went out the next morning, Zayata had already changed into a sexy and revealing outfit and was waiting for him at the door. It was clear that he was seducing Qin language. However, Qin Lang didn't take this trick. He stared at the 2 lumps of white meat on Zayata's chest and said seriously, "Take me to the nearest shelter." Zayata shook his body and said, "Okay sir, I have found the driver." The giant off-road vehicle started and took Qin Lang and Zayata to the Zin Sanctuary. The reason why it was called this name was because the boss of the shelter was named Richard Zin, and people used to call him Boss Zin. Zayata, it's a miracle that you are still alive. I thought your shelter was finished. Richardson looked surprised. Why are you the only one here? Where are the others? They're all dead. Zayata said in an understatement. Richardson sighed. Oh, my poor brother. It's so hard to survive until now. He's dead now. Come in. Richardson thought Qin Lang was Zayata's slave and never looked at him seriously from beginning to end. Entering the shelter, Qin Lang looked around. This sanctuary not only has towering city walls, but the buildings inside are also very well preserved. Overall, it should have been a large community before the end of the world. Come in. Please take a seat. It's just like you're at home here. Don't be polite. Richardson was very enthusiastic and moved for Zayata to take a seat. Zayata glanced at Qin language. After getting approval, he took his seat and said, "The purpose of today, I came here to trade some cards with you. The cards I need have been written on. There are some proportions here. See if you have a lot." Charlie Sheen read the cards at a glance and said, "Oh, I do have some of the cards you want, but the ratio is too low. But it doesn't matter. We are all family members. We will have someone prepare the cards for you right away. Thank you, Boss Zin." Zayata, what are your plans for the future? Your personal defense against the insect wave must have suffered heavy casualties. Why not bring the survivors to join my shelter? As long as I, Richardson, have a mouthful of food, you will never go hungry. What Richardson said was righteous. But Qin Lang discovered that this bearded man's eyes never left Zayata's chest point. Zayata pretended to be confused and deliberately crossed her arms to further squeeze her advantage. We'll talk about joining your shelter later. Today we'll just talk about the deal. Okay, Richard. Zin lit a cigar and took a few puffs. At this time, there was a burst of hurried footsteps outside the door. Boom. A dozen men wearing turbans kicked the door open and rushed in. Each of them held a sword in his hand and looked at him with a fierce look. Zayata frowned. Boss Zin, what do you mean by this? Richard Zin changed his previous heroic and righteous attitude and said with a smile, what do you mean? Isn't it clear enough? When your captain was alive, I respected him 3 points, but now he is dead. What can you use to negotiate a deal with me? Boss Zin, the relationship between our two shelters has always been good. Zayata was not afraid at all. Just kidding. Qin Lang, the god of war, was standing behind her. What was there to be afraid of? Yes, our relationship was really good at that time, but that was based on the balance of our shelter's combat power. Now you are talking to me about relationship. Who do you think you are? Richardson spread his hands and smiled obscenely. Zayata, don't worry, I can't bear to kill you. As long as you accompany me well, and let me and my brothers have enough fun, I will consider letting you go back. Ha ha ha. Zayata laughed. Richardson, you don't think that I'm stupid enough to come to trade with you without any preparation? Do you know who is going to trade? That is a big man with all means. Oh, scare me, scare you. There is no need. Now I have to correct you in one word. We did not defend against the insect tide, but took the initiative to destroy the insect tide. It was that big man who took action. Zayata is a smart woman who flatters like crazy. Although Qin Lang knew it well, he was still very comfortable being flattered, and he really would not easily think of killing her now. It is also good to raise a cat or dog. Okay, call this big shot out, so I can meet him. If he's as powerful as you say, why would he trade with me? Wouldn't it be faster to just rob him? As soon as Richards finished speaking, his throat was grabbed by a black monster hand. Qin Lang smiled and said, you're right. It's faster to rob him. You're looking for death. Damn it, let go of the boss. A dozen of his brothers shouted frantically. Qin Lang glanced at them. The next second, their hearts were pierced by dark tentacles, and they died on the spot. Chapter 146 Northern Insect Nest. Looking at the limp bodies, Richardson showed an expression of disbelief. Although these were not the elite of the shelter, they were all strong men who had strength and many cards. The weakest one had more than 4,000 combat power. They were killed so easily without even a chance to react. Do you want a card or a life? Qin Lang had a smirk on his face, but Zayata had expected this result and had no expression on his face. After witnessing Qin Lang destroy the insect tide with his own eyes, Zayata felt that he would never be surprised in his life. Brother, spare my life, brother. Whatever you want, I'll give it to you. Richardson raised his hands high. It's just a card, I'll give it to you. There's no rush for the card. Let me see what skills you have learned first. Qin Lang pushed Richardson away and took out the panel mirror from the storage space to look at Richardson. Richardson's overall card structure can't be said to be a mess. It can only be said to be terrible. There are all kinds of messes. The largest number is actually silver cards. He strengthened himself more than 3,000 cards. The silver card alone brought him a combat power value of up to 12, and the other various cards added together reached 22. Only to color cards. How miserable are you? The big boss of the shelter. I accept it. He currently lacks the color card battery and can take off the dark gold card, but there is no problem with the color card. He has a lot of gold and silver card batteries, and he doesn't know how to consume them. Storing Richardson's only two color cards into the panel mirror, Qin Lang smiled and said, okay, now take me to where you put the cards. Here. Richardson felt so painful that he glared at Zayata fiercely. The latter sneered, do you still want me to accompany you to have fun? Now, half an hour later Qin Lang came out of the shelter, and there were thousands more cards in the storage space. No wonder many people choose to kill and rob in the end times. The speed of earning cards is too fast. This is equivalent to the income from exterminating a small-scale insecticide. Qin Lang was in a very good mood. I have a question. Why don't you kill them? Zayatata asked with courage. Of course it's because I'm kind and can't bear to kill. Why? Kill them, Qin Lang laughed. Wouldn't it be more fun to keep them to earn cards for me? Zayatata, do you want to become the Queen of Texas? Queen of Texas? Me? Zayatata looked confused. What do you mean? It means that I changed my mind. Not only will I not kill you, but I will also train you to become the Queen of Texas. All you have to do is give me a certain number of cards every day. The specific amount depends on your daily income. As for the extra ones, it is up to you to decide whether to strengthen yourself or train. I don't care about raising subordinates. Can I really do that? I'm not very good at fighting. Zayatata clearly felt his heartbeat speeding up and his face turned red. But I swear, I will work hard to learn how to fight and I will never let you down. You have this awareness. It's good. Take me to the next shelter. For 3 whole days, Qin Lang, led by Zayatata, visited all the nearby shelters non-stop. Most of the shelters succumbed to Qin Lang's iron fist and gave a large number of cards, while 3 stubborn shelters were unwilling to cooperate with him. As a result, they were naturally killed by Qin Lang, and the egg yolks were shaken apart. These 3 sets of cards are tailor-made for you. You can use them. They are enough to solve the current enemies above 90. When I come back in a few days, I hope you won't let me down. I hate the idea of wasting money. Qin Lang handed a thick stack of cards to Zayatata. Zayatata's eyes were hot. Mr. Qin, don't worry. I swear allegiance to you until death. Get up. Qin Lang lit a cigarette. Mr. Qin, where are you going next? Didn't you say there's a worm nest in the north? I plan to go and see it. Qin Lang decided to explore the worm nest before returning to China through the underground palace. There was something important waiting for him there. Li Guoguo was about to come out of the secret realm and he had to pick her up. The worm nest is absolutely not allowed. It's very dangerous there. Zayatata was horrified. Even if you have the ability to fight against the worm nest, you must never easily set foot in the northern worm nest. Oh. Why? Before that, someone organized a hunting team of thousands of people to go to the northern worm nest. As a result, the news of the annihilation came the next day. The few people who escaped were scared crazy. They said that there lived an evil god inside, and mortals who set foot inside would be self-destruction. Whether it is an evil god or a monster living in it, you have to go in and see it. I have made up my mind. You don't need to persuade me. You just need to do your own thing. It would have been better if Zayatata didn't say this. Qin Lang became more interested when she said it. Qin Lang never lacked the spirit of adventure. At most, he could just run away. If he couldn't win, then what can I do for you? Zayatata's eyes were watery. Come to my room tonight and give me a massage. I'll leave tomorrow morning. Yes, Mr. Qin. No, master. The next afternoon, Qin Lang successfully arrived at the northern insect nest that everyone in Texas survivors talked about after a long raid for most of the day. From a distance, it was an abrupt oval building with insect eggs as high as a person all over the building. There were countless sickle insects, flying insects, and plasma insects nearby. The scene was more spectacular than the previous insect tide. What concerned him most was the top of the northern insect nest, where a thick yellow line was clearly visible connecting to the eyeball monster in the sky. Meow, the insignificant Ziohei warned. The creature inside has a very scary aura. Whose aura is stronger, me or the thing inside? Qin Lang frowned slightly. Ziohei had a very strong sense of danger. It's hard to say that you are very strong, but the aura of the creature inside is not weak either, even a little stronger than the feeling you give me. I'm afraid this trip won't be easy. Ziohei licked his paws and suddenly got angry. Oh no, it found us. Qin Lang looked up and saw that the big eyeball in the sky actually moved slowly, lifeless, and the black hole-like eyes stared straight at him. He suddenly felt nauseous and wanted to vomit. Is this just a little bit stronger? Qin Lang was horrified. So far, no creature has given him such a terrifying feeling. You are here as expected. A woman's weak voice suddenly sounded in Qin Lang's mind. Come in. Welcome. What the hell is this thing? And it can speak English? The voice in the mind stuttered, but it was authentic English. Looking at the limp bodies, Richardson showed an unbelievable expression. Although these were not the elite of the shelter, they were all strong men who had strength and many cards. The weakest had more than 4,000 combat power. They were killed so easily without even a chance to react. Do you want a card or a life? Qin Lang had a smirk on his face, and Zayatata had expected this result, and there was no expression on his face point. After witnessing Qin Lang destroy the insectide with his own eyes, Zayatata felt that he would never be surprised in his life. Brother. Spare my life, brother. Whatever you want, I will give it to you. Richardson raised his hands high. Isn't it just a card? I'll give it to you. There's no rush for the card. Let me see what skills you have learned first. Qin Lang pushed Richardson away and took out the panel mirror from the storage space to take a look at Richardson. Richardson's overall card structure cannot be said to be a mess. It can only be said to be terrible. There are all kinds of messes, and the largest number is actually silver cards. He has strengthened himself for more than 3,000 cards. The combat power value brought to him by the silver cards alone is as high as 12, and the other various cards added together have reached 22. How miserable are you, the boss of the shelter, with only 2 color cards? I accept it. At present, he lacks the color card battery and cannot take it off the dark gold card, but there is no problem with the color card. He has a lot of gold and silver card batteries, and he doesn't know how to consume them. Storing Richardson's only 2 color cards into the panel mirror, Qin Lang smiled and said, okay, now take me to where you put the cards. Okay, this way. Richard felt pain and glared at Zayatata, who sneered, do you still want me to accompany you to have fun? Now, half. An hour later Qin Lang came out of the shelter, and there were thousands of cards in the storage space. No wonder many people choose to kill and rob in the end times. The speed of earning cards is too fast. This is equivalent to the income from exterminating a small-scale insectide. Qin Lang was in a good mood. I have a question. Why you don't kill them? Zayatata asked courageously. Of course it's because I'm kind and can't bear to kill. What's the point of killing them? Qin Lang laughed. Wouldn't it be more fun to keep them to earn cards for me? Zayatata, do you want to be the Queen of Texas? Queen of Texas? Me? Zayatata looked confused. What do you mean? It means that I have changed my mind. Not only will I not kill you, but I will also train you to become the Queen of Texas. All you have to do is give me a certain number of cards every day. The specific number will be based on your daily income. As for the extra ones, you can use them to strengthen yourself or train your subordinates. I don't care, can I really do that? I'm not very good at fighting. Zayatata clearly felt her heartbeat speeding up, and her face flushed, but I swear, I will work hard to learn how to fight, and will never let you down. It's good that you have this awareness. Take me to the next shelter. For 3 whole days, Qin Lang, under the leadership of Zayatata, visited all the nearby shelters non-stop. Most of the shelters succumbed to Qin Lang's iron fist and gave a large number of cards. However, there were 3 stubborn shelters that were unwilling to cooperate with him. As a result, they were naturally killed by Qin Lang, and the egg yolks were shaken apart. These 3 sets of cards are tailor-made for you. You can use them. They are enough to help you deal with more than 90 enemies at present. When I come back in a few days, I hope you won't let me down. I hate to invest in things that go down the drain. Qin Lang handed a thick stack of cards to Zayatata. Zayatata's eyes were hot. Mr. Qin, don't worry. I swear allegiance to you until death. Get up. Qin Lang lit a cigarette. Mr. Qin, where are you going next? Didn't you say there is a worm nest in the north? I plan to go and see it. Qin Lang decided to explore the insect nest before returning to China through the underground palace. There was something important waiting for him there. Li Guogoro should be coming out of the secret realm soon, so he had to pick her up. We absolutely cannot go to the insect nest. It's very dangerous there. Zayatata's face was full of horror. Even if you have the ability to fight against the insect nest, you must not easily set foot in the northern insect nest. Oh. Why? Before this, someone organized a hunting team of thousands of people to go to the northern insect nest. As a result, the next day, news came that the army was annihilated. The few people who escaped were frightened and went crazy, saying that there were people living inside. If you follow the evil god, you will destroy yourself if you set foot on it, whether it's an evil god or some kind of monster that lives there. You have to go in and take a look to find out. I've made up my mind. You don't need to persuade me. You just have to do your own thing. It's okay if Zayatita doesn't say this, but Qin Lang becomes more interested when he mentions it. Qin Lang has never lacked the spirit of adventure. At worst, he won't be able to beat the opponent. Then, what can I do for you? Zayata's big eyes were watery. Come to my room tonight and give me a massage. I'll leave tomorrow morning. It's Mr. Qin. No, Master. In the afternoon of the next day, after a long journey for most of the day, Qin Lang successfully arrived at the northern insect nest that everyone in Texas was talking about. Looking from a distance, it was an abrupt oval building with people all over the building. The insect eggs are high, and there are countless sickle bugs, flying insects, and plasma bugs nearby. The scene is spectacular, even worse than the previous insect tide. What concerned him most was that at the top of the northern insect nest, he could clearly see a thick yellow line connected to the eyeball monster in the sky. Meow. The non-existent Zioheli warned. The creatures inside have a very terrifying aura. Compared with the things inside, who has a stronger aura? Qin Lang frowned slightly. Zioheli had a very strong sense of danger. It's hard to say that you are very strong, but the biological aura inside is not weak, and is even a little stronger than the feeling you gave me. I'm afraid this trip won't be easy. Zioheli licked his paws and suddenly said, no, it found us. Qin Lang suddenly raised his head and saw the big eyeball in the sky moving slowly. The lifeless black hole-like eyes were staring directly at him. He suddenly felt nauseated and wanted to vomit. Is this only a little stronger? Qin Lang was horrified. So far, no creature has given him such a terrifying feeling. You are indeed here. A woman's feeble voice suddenly sounded in Qin Lang's mind. Come in. Welcome. Welcome. Hey, what the hell is this? Can you speak English? Although the voice in my head was stammering, it was pure English. Chapter 147 Eternal Night asked him to perform his duties well, and then return to the mobile fortress. At this time, the mobile fortress lost its former bustle. Lin Weiner was the only one. Seeing Qin Lang return, she happily got into his arms and said, you have been out for a long time. Who dares to believe it? I ran away to Texas. Texas? Braised chicken? No, the Texas from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Qin Lang picked up Linwana and laughed. I'll tell you slowly. 2 hours later, Linwana was half paralyzed on the bed. Her eyes were lazy but full of happiness. Not long after you left, Yanzi went out to hunt. Yesterday, he was still within the range of spiritual communication. I don't know where he is now, but I don't expect anything to happen. The paladin has a natural resistance to darkness, and nothing will happen to her. If I take them for so long, and they can't survive the 5th stage alone, then I can only say that their fate is not good. Qin Lang took a bite of the grape handed over by Linwana. I have to go out in the next few days to pick someone up. Pick someone up. Her name is Li Guogo. She used to be my childhood sweetheart, but now she is my woman. Yes, I understand. Linwana nodded. It's dark. Go to bed. Qin Lang smiled and pressed on Linwana, who immediately let out a burst of laughter like silver bells. Vine Shelter, Meeting Hall. I just heard from the guard that Qin Lang is back. Sure enough, he still treats us as outsiders, and returned to his mobile fortress immediately. Zhao. Zuki's eyes were full of resentment. When she saw her sister reading a book indifferently, she couldn't help but said, Sister, I'm talking to you. Do you hear me? Zhao Qingsu said expressionlessly. I heard it. What about that? How about it? How long have we known Qin Lang? How long has Linwana known him? You can't treat us as air. Zhao Zuki pinched her waist, her face full of anger. Zhao Qingsu shook her head. Zuki, control your temper. Do you still think this is a peaceful era? It's good enough that we can rely on Qin Lang to survive in the end times. Don't expect too much. If there was no Qin Lang, my central shelter would have been swallowed up by the Forkings, and our sisters would never have a good ending. That's right, but I just feel uncomfortable. Zhao Zuki kicked the table leg, and suddenly the familiar voice came from behind. who provoked the second lady, taking it out on the table leg. Zhaozuki was shocked. Qin Lang, why are you here? No, why are you walking without making any sound? Zhao Qingsu smiled. Zuki was mumbling just now, blaming you for not coming to see us. I'm here, Qin Lang smiled and forced Zhaozuki into his arms. The girl struggled twice, but couldn't get away, so she just let him do it. It's the shelter's lighting stock sufficient. It's okay to hold out for a month or two, but it won't work if it lasts too long. Zhao Qingsu answered honestly. Here are some cards. Take them first. If they are not enough, go find Linwana. Qin Lang took out a long box from the storage space, which was filled with cards. Now, the cards are given by the box. Zhao Qingsu's big eyes flickered and were very spiritual. This trip was very fruitful. Let's celebrate with your sisters. You just came from Sister Wana. Do you still have the energy to celebrate? Zhao Qingsu smiled wickedly. What? A joke. I have a lot of energy. Then we really have to try it. Chapter 148 Visitors from N9. This fierce battle between a dragon and two phoenixes lasted from dusk to dusk. Looking at the exhausted Zhao sisters who finally begged for mercy, Qin Lang lit up a cigarette with satisfaction and talked about his experience in Texas. The sound of running water came from the bath. It was my sister Zhaozuki who was taking a bath. Zhao Qingsu sat on the dressing table and tied up her long hair, adding a bit of mature charm. After listening to Qin Lang's story, Zhao Qingsu said thoughtfully, this incident is actually very good proof. You only need to find a direction and go straight that way. If it is really regionalization, you will be able to leave sooner or later. Evernight environment. I'm going out to find a friend this time, so I can confirm it. Qin Lang nodded. Qin Lang, I have something to discuss with you. What did you say, Zhu? Qi and I have discussed that in the future we would like to develop as much support as possible. If you come across relevant cards, can you bring them to us? Zhao Qingsu spread her hands. It's enough for you and Leoli to fight. Qin Lang smiled and put his hand on Zhao Qingsu's shoulder. Yes, the auxiliary profession is also an indispensable profession in the end of the world. However, as the Queen of Longvine, you still have to have some fighting ability to protect yourself. If I'm not around, you will encounter again. What about the previous attacks? Zhao Qingsu smiled faintly and said, everything is at your discretion. You guys should rest. I'm going back. 3 days later in the morning, a pair of hands stretched out from the dark barrier, followed closely by a head and body. Although the sunlight at this time was not dazzling, the handsome man still subconsciously raised his right hand to cover it. After a while, his vision gradually recovered. So it's really like this. Qin Lang looked at the dark land in front of him and sighed sincerely. When he went to Texas, he doubted whether there was a possibility that there would be no so-called apocalypse at all. What stage is it? Now it seems that his idea is absolutely correct. The disasters experienced in each region are different. In his previous life, he just stayed in a region for a long time and experienced the extreme climate and monster changes in that region. Some people believe that all parts of the earth will experience the same end of the world. Now it seems that it is really a regional end of the world, but it is undeniable that the monsters and the environment have indeed become worse and worse. Qin Lang put the lantern back into the storage space and looked around. As various implants came into view, Qin Lang was surprised to find that the plants in this area grew extremely lush and tall. He came under an apple tree, and the apple was as big as an adult's head. I don't know if such a big apple is sweet or not. Qin Lang murmured to himself, of course just talking. How could he touch such food of unknown origin? Dip, drip, drip. Qin Lang took out the monster radar, and there was a monster with a combat power of 0 nearby. The area is different, so the monsters should be different from those I encountered before. Qin Lang greeted Zhao Hei and Quzhe and rushed towards the monster. Soon Qin Lang saw the creature. It was a humanoid creature, 3 meters tall, holding a bone stick, and was waving it to hit the crowd in front of him. This monster is being besieged by 7 or 8 people. Those who besiege him are still using the most basic rifles and submachine guns, which makes Qin Lang look strange. Point, isn't that wrong? In what age are we still using rifles to kill monsters? Qin Lang took another look at the combat power detector and found that these 8 people. This chapter is not finished. Click the next chapter To continue reading chapter 148, N9's visitor, their average combat power is only 2500. If they are placed in the Evernight area, any monster will destroy them, and they will not be able to survive until the next day. Ouch. The green-faced and fanged monster roared angrily and charged towards the crowd. Upon seeing this, they immediately dispersed in all directions, with quite a tacit understanding. A few minutes later, the clumsy monster couldn't withstand the bombardment of bullets and finally fell down. The bearded leader dug out the card in the monster's head. Huh. Who's there? The bearded man noticed Qin Lang and immediately shouted loudly, "I mean no harm." Qin Lang raised his hands and said the classic opening line, "I'm a wanderer who has just arrived here." The bearded group of people looked at each other. Two of the men came over and searched Qin language. After confirming that he was not carrying weapons, they nodded towards the bearded man. The bearded man put down his gun and said, "Brother, where did you come from? Where are you going?" Qin Lang pointed to the area shrouded in darkness behind him. "I came from Changteng, and I ended up here inexplicably." Longvine. The bearded man's eyes lit up. "What? There is still a living person in Changteng? Isn't that what I am?" Qin Lang said with a smile. "Why do you think there are no survivors in Changteng?" The bearded man frowned and said, "Changvin is in the N9 area. The survival rate of people in the N9 area will not exceed 0.15. This is the survival rate given by the supercomputer, and it will never be wrong." "What is the N9 area?" Qin Lang was confused. This was definitely a new word. He had never heard of it in his previous life. "Dad, this kid really seems to be from N9. He doesn't understand anything." A young girl in the team was full of curiosity. N9 refers to the survival difficulty of the area. N9 is a difficulty 3 area. However, it will be over soon. It has been upgraded to N4 area. Qin Lang frowned so hard that he could kill a fly. Please forgive my ignorance. I have never heard of this word. It seems that N9 is not as difficult as the legend says. You can survive with only 5000 combat power. Huang Mao turned off the combat power detector. "I once thought that people who can survive N9 difficulty must have at least 1 combat power. 20,000. I didn't expect it to be that much." The bearded man smiled and said, "How can it be so easy to achieve a combat strength of 10,000 or 20,000? Our city lord came from N6, so we can only reach level 1. City lord? Do you have a city?" It's no wonder that Qin Lang is regarded as a rustic by this group of people. At this time, his mouth has been opened into an O shape. "Of course, otherwise where will we live and sleep?" The girl had a good impression of Qin Lang and said to the bearded man, "Dad, he is very powerful. Let him join our hunting team." The bearded man smiled and said, "I'm the one who set up your hunting team. I recruit people as I say. This requires the consent of the city lord. Anyway, come back with us first. If there is no problem with your identity, I will welcome to join the hunting team." "Of course." Qin Lang nodded repeatedly, feeling a little depressed. At least they also have the term hunting team. At that moment, Qin Lang got on the off-road vehicle and followed the bearded group to the main city. Through conversations with them, we learned that this main city was originally called Yuanjing and was a super first-tier city in the civilized era. Qin Lang had even traveled here. After nearly an hour's drive, Qin Lang arrived in front of the main city gate. Looking at the towering city walls and the huge city that retained at least 70 civilization-era buildings, Qin Lang rubbed his eyes in disbelief. "You haven't experienced a snowstorm? What kind of snow disaster?" the bearded man asked from his soul. Chapter 149. The end of the world is also mixed. Qin Lang's whole body felt bad, and he endured the torn worldview and asked again, "What about the scorching heat?" The girl Jiuolin chuckled and said, "Hey, what on earth are you talking about? It's a snowstorm and a scorching heat. Did you hit your head or even wake up?" The bearded man was driving, and when he heard Jiuolin complaining about Qin Lang, he couldn't help but say, "Brother Qin escaped from N9, and it is very likely that he has experienced that extreme climate. Well, have you experienced snowstorms and scorching heat?" Jiuolin stuck out her tongue and apologized. "I'm sorry, I don't know." "Fine." Qin Lang rubbed his face, feeling quite complicated. The off-road vehicle slowly drove into the city, and the men and women setting up stalls on the roadside looked at everyone in the vehicle with respect and envy. Obviously, in any city or sanctuary, a hunting team that can obtain card resources is a hot commodity. Big Beard drove the off-road vehicle to the door of a 3-story building and asked everyone to perform their duties. He patted Qin Lang on the shoulder and said, "Let's go. I will take you to see our president." President? Not the city lord. Qin Lang followed. The city lord is not just someone you can meet with. You have to make certain contributions to the city before you have a chance to be summoned. The person in charge of the hunting team is the president of the hunting association. We all call him Yang Tao. Walking into the magnificent hunting association, Qin Lang found that his eyesight was not strong enough. There were novel gadgets everywhere. The only thing he recognized was the trading terminal, of which there were 5. Aren't there these instruments in the N9 area? The bearded man couldn't help but asked when he saw something was wrong in Qin Lang's eyes. Not at all. Qin Lang shook his head. I've never seen it before. What are these used for? Oh my god, how did you survive? The bearded man patted his forehead. Dad is back. Dad Zhao. The bearded man's surname is Zhao. People who are familiar with him call him Dad Zhao. Dad Zhao is quite prestigious in the entire Yuancheng and is very popular. Almost all the hunters who meet him along the way will greet him warmly while looking at Qin Lang with a strange look. Yang Tao, father. Zhao came to the 2nd floor and greeted a man wearing a bright silver uniform from a distance point. The man turned around and said with a smile, Dad Zhao is back. How was the harvest this time? Not bad, a small profit. Come, let me introduce you to someone. This is a brother who escaped from the N9 area. His name is Qin Language. What? Escaped from area N9? Yang Tao was startled. Isn't this impossible? Not to mention N9. Even the N8 area is as terrifying as hell on earth. Father. Zhao smiled and said, I didn't believe it at first, but little brother Qin has a combat power of 5,000. Yang Tao's eyes were filled with joy, and he strode over to shake hands with Qin Lang. Brother Zhao Qin, welcome to Yuancheng. When you have time, can you tell me what you have experienced living in the N9 area? Qin Lang nodded. You can do it at any time, but what I'm more curious about now is how you preserved this city. In the past year of the end of the world, haven't you encountered any crisis? A tide of corpses? A tide of insects? Extreme weather? Not a single one? Yang Tao gave a bitter smile. You can tell the zombie tide, insect tide. It seems you are really it comes from the N9 area. We are in area N3, and except for a few monsters, we have never encountered the situation you mentioned. Oh, I can't finish it. 3 months ago, Father Zhao encountered a large-scale beast herd, with hundreds of mutated beasts, right? Yes. Father Zhao nodded. It was really a hearty battle. I still remember it fresh. Qin Lang, Dad Zhao, please take brother Qin to change clothes and rest first, and then take him around the association. I have to deal with some things now. No problem. Don't worry. Leave it to me. You can do your job. Father Zhao led Qin Lang to get a pure white uniform from the staff on the 1st floor and jokingly pointed at Zhao Hei and Qze who were following him. We didn't prepare clothes for our pets, so we have to embarrass them. The advent of the end of the world has caused many changes in the structure of the world. It is not uncommon for people like Qin Lang to bring pets, so no one cares. It doesn't matter. Dad Zhao, why are my clothes white and your clothes blue? Ha 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 ha. Dad Zhao said with a hearty smile. This is to distinguish the status. White is a trainee hunter, green is a formal hunter, and blue is a senior hunter. We all make it, based on the color of the card. Qin Lang smiled and nodded, indicating that he understood. This is the supercomputer. When the apocalypse started, it was smashed down together with the cards. Father Zhao pointed to the red mist area on the huge computer screen. The red mist area here represents the presence of monsters. The higher the concentration of red mist, the higher the quantity and quality of monsters, and vice versa. This is a life card converter. You can convert unused cards into the life cards you want here. The trading terminal, as the name suggests, is used for card transactions. This is only open to hunting teams. After all, the chance of civilians getting cards is too small. Father Zhao patiently explained the use of some instruments to Qin language. When he encountered something Qin Lang didn't understand, he would immediately explain it. He was very comfortable getting along with him and gave people the feeling of a friendly parent. Oh, what do you think civilians should do if they can't get cards? In fact, this is easy to do. We regularly issue some basic resource cards, such as plant seeds, building materials, consumables, parts, etc. They can earn for themselves through work. Cards. Many people exchanged combat cards and joined the hunting team. Father Zhao seemed to have thought of something. His eyelids drooped and he sighed. I really don't know how long this kind of comfortable life can last. Are you worried about the increase in regional danger? Qin Lang asked. The increased danger in the area is just one reason. More importantly, there is a shelter 200 kilometers away. The boss is named Jin Wanson and their people want to seize control of the city. We have fought with them several times. Win less and lose more. Father Zhao took out a pack of cigarettes from his pocket. He wanted to smoke only to find that the cigarette pack was already empty. Unhappily, he crumpled the cigarette pack into a ball and threw it out. It's hard to smoke a cigarette these days. Qin Lang smiled and took out half a pack of cigarettes and stuffed them into Father Zhao's jacket pocket. Dad, please take good care of me in the future. Father Zhao was overjoyed. Oh, I'm so embarrassed to be so polite. Hurry up and order a bite. Qin Lang helped Zhao Leo light the cigarette with a smile, and the two of them smoked and communicated. At this time, a sharp siren suddenly came from the outside world. Father Zhao's face changed. Something happened. Qin Lang felt bad all over. He injured the torn worldview and asked again, what about the scorching heat? The girl Jiuolin chuckled and said, hey, what on earth are you talking about? It's a snowstorm and a scorching heat. Did you hit your head or even wake up? The bearded man was driving, and when he heard Jiuolin complaining about Qin Lang, he couldn't help but say, Brother Qin escaped from N9, and it is very likely that he has experienced that extreme climate. Have you experienced snowstorms and scorching heat? Jiuolin stuck out her tongue and apologized. I'm sorry, I don't know. Fine. Qin Lang rubbed his face, feeling quite complicated. The off-road vehicle slowly drove into the city, and the men and women setting up stalls on the roadside looked at everyone in the vehicle with respect and envy. Obviously in any city or sanctuary, a hunting team that can obtain card resources is a hot commodity. Big Beard drove the off-road vehicle to the door of a 3-story building and asked everyone to perform their duties. He patted Qin Lang on the shoulder and said, let's go. I will take you to see our president. President? Not the city lord? Qin Lang followed. The city lord is not just someone you can meet with. You have to make certain contributions to the city before you have a chance to be summoned. The person in charge of the hunting team is the president of the hunting association. We all call him Yang Tao. Walking into the magnificent hunting association, Qin Lang found that his eyesight was not strong enough. There were novel gadgets everywhere. The only thing he recognized was the trading terminal, of which there were 5. Aren't there these instruments in the N9 area? The bearded man couldn't help but asked when he saw something was wrong in Qin Lang's eyes. Not at all. Qin Lang shook his head. I've never seen it before. What are these used for? Oh my god, how did you survive? The bearded man patted his forehead. Dad is back. Dad Zhao. The bearded man's surname is Zhao. People who are familiar with him call him Dad Zhao. Dad Zhao is quite prestigious in the entire Yuancheng and has good popularity. Almost all the hunters who meet him along the way will greet him warmly while looking at Qin Lang with a strange look. Yang Tao. Father Zhao came to the 2nd floor and greeted a man wearing a bright silver uniform from a distance. The man turned around and said with a smile, Dad Zhao is back. How was the harvest this time? Not bad. A small profit. Come, let me introduce you to someone. This is a brother who escaped from the N9 area. His name is Qin Lang. What? Escaped from area N9? Yang Tao was startled. Isn't this impossible? Not to mention N9, even the N8 area is as terrifying as hell on earth. Father Zhao smiled and said, I didn't believe it at first, but little brother Qin has a combat power of 5,000. Yang Tao's eyes were filled with joy, and he strode over to shake hands with Qin Lang. Brother Zhao Qin, welcome to Yuancheng. When you have time, can you tell me what you have experienced living in the N9 area? Qin Lang nodded. You can do it at any time, but what I'm more curious about now is how you preserved this city. In the past year of the end of the world, haven't you encountered any crisis? A tide of corpses? A tide of insects? Extreme weather? Not a single one. Yang Tao gave a bitter smile. You can tell the zombie tide, insect tide. It seems you are really it comes from the N9 area. We are in area N3, and except for a few monsters, we have never encountered the situation you mentioned. Oh, I can't finish it. 3 months ago, Father Zhao encountered a large-scale beast herd, with hundreds of mutated beasts, right? Yes. Father Zhao nodded. It was really a hearty battle. I still remember it fresh. Qin Lang, Dad, Zhao, please take Brother Qin to change clothes and rest first, and then take him around the association. I have to deal with some things now. No problem. Don't worry. Leave it to me. You can do your job, Father. Zhao led Qin Lang to get a pure white uniform from the staff on the first floor, and jokingly pointed at Zhao Hei and Qze who were following him. We didn't prepare clothes for our pets, so we have to embarrass them. The advent of the apocalypse has led to many changes in the structure of the world. It is not uncommon for people like Qin Lang to bring pets, so no one cares. It doesn't matter. Yes, Father Zhao. Why are my clothes white and yours blue? Ha ha ha. Father Zhao laughed heartily. This is to distinguish the identities. White is for apprentice hunters, green is for formal hunters, and blue is for senior hunters. We all make them according to the color of the cards. Qin Lang smiled and nodded, indicating that he understood. This is the supercomputer. It was smashed down with the cards. When the apocalypse began, Old Man Zhao pointed to the red fog area on the huge computer screen. The red fog area here represents monsters. The higher the concentration of red fog, the higher the number and quality of monsters, and vice versa. This is a life card converter. Unused cards can be converted into the life cards you want here. The trading terminal, as the name suggests, is used for card trading. This is only open to hunting after all. The chance of civilians getting cards is too small. Old Man Zhao patiently explained to Qin Lang how to use some instruments. When he encountered something Qin Lang didn't understand, he would immediately explain it. It was very comfortable to get along with him, giving people a feeling of a friendly patriarch. Oh, what do you say about civilians not being able to get cards? Actually, this is easy to handle. We regularly distribute some basic resource cards, such as plant seeds, building materials, consumables, parts, etc. They can earn cards for themselves through work. Many people exchanged combat cards and joined the hunting team. Father Zhao seemed to have thought of something. His eyelids drooped, and he sighed. I really don't know how long this comfortable life can last. Ah. You worried about the increase in the danger level of the area? Qin Lang asked. The increased danger level in the area is only one reason. More importantly, there is a shelter 200 kilometers away. The boss is called Jin Wanson and his people want to seize control of the city. We have fought with them several times, winning less and losing more. Old Man Zhao took out a pack of cigarettes from his pocket. He wanted to smoke, but found that the cigarette box was empty. He was unhappy and threw the cigarette box into a bowl. These days, it's hard to smoke a cigarette. Qin Lang smiled and took out most of the pack of cigarettes and stuffed it into Old Man Zhao's shirt pocket. Dad, please take care of me in the future. Old Man Zhao was overjoyed. Oh, how can you be so polite? Hurry up, light it up, and take a puff. Qin Lang smiled and helped Old Man Zhao light the cigarette. The two of them talked while puffing. Point at this time, a sharp alarm suddenly came from the outside world. Point. Old Man Zhao's face changed. Something happened. Chapter 150 Monster attacks the city. People from the Hunters Association hurried out when they heard the siren, and Qin Lang and Father Zhao were no exception. When they arrived at the door, they saw the young hunter who had returned with them before saying nervously, "Oh no, a large number of monsters have been discovered in the southwest and are marching towards the city. If nothing goes wrong, they will arrive at the city gate in less than half an hour. It's not like we haven't encountered monsters attacking the city before. Why are you nervous?" Father Zhao frowned and shouted. This time is completely different from before. The number of monsters is several times, even more than 10 times. Impossible. Absolutely, if there was such a monster, impossible. The supercomputer would have warned it a long time ago. I just saw the supercomputer and there was nothing unusual about it. How did they escape radar monitoring? Father Zhao didn't believe it. Dad, I really didn't lie to you. Before the young man could finish his words, Guild President Yang Tao jumped down from the third floor and shouted, I just received an order from the city lord. All the hunting team members in the city must get it within 15 minutes. Weapons to garrison on the southwest wall. Yang Tao, is the situation so urgent? Father Zhao panicked. Not only is it urgent, but it's also very strange. In short, let's check the situation first. Yang Tao glanced at Qin Lang. Brother Qin, you are new here. Theoretically, I shouldn't let you participate in the battle, but it's about the lives of tens of thousands of people in Yuancheng. Please fight with all your strength. Well, I will go to the war with Father Zhao. Qin Lang nodded heavily. The western city wall is more than 30 meters high, and you can see the scene very far away from the top. What came into view at this time was a dense swarm of locust-like beasts. The number was no less than the swarm of insects he had encountered before. Qin Lang saw clearly the appearance of the monster through the military telescope. It was a green-skinned humanoid creature with an extremely ugly appearance. The weapon in its hand was a very simple bone stick. Goblin? But it doesn't look like a goblin. It doesn't have a tail. This was the first time Qin Lang had seen this kind of monster. Stand aside. Ji Yuolin's face was as hen and she said, half-human beasts are also called goblins. They are social creatures that will actively attack humans. They often kill the men in the team and then kidnap the women to use as their fertility machines. I heard women captured by them will be drained of their reproductive value and then eaten. Oh my god, there are so many. Can we hold on? No wonder Ji Yuolin was afraid. Although there were many residents in Yuancheng, most of them were unarmed civilians. There were no more than 500 hunting team members with real combat effectiveness. At this time, they were facing tens of thousands of goblin legions. Even if there is a city wall, it may not be able to last long. Don't panic, everyone. I have contacted our allies in the north. They are on their way to us. We only need to hold on for 3 hours until they arrive. At some point a heroic woman appeared on the city wall wearing a golden combat uniform, with a pistol and rapier at her waist. The tight combat uniform perfectly highlighted the curves of her figure, with the front and back curved. Is she the city lord? Qin Lang withdrew his gaze. No, she is Eluo Bing, the daughter of the city lord. The city lord's name is Eluo Shan. She is also the second strongest fighting force after the city lord. Father Zhao's expression was serious. Even Miss Eluo took action. It seems it's really urgent. Qin Lang looked at the rifle and bullets handed over by Ji Yuolin and couldn't help but smile. These are still the main weapons in the N3 area. What's wrong? Doesn't N9 use a gun? Ji Yuolin asked strangely. Basically, not necessary. The firepower is not enough. Then you encounter strange people. This chapter is not finished yet. Click on the next chapter to continue reading chapter 150 Monster Siege Things. Careful. Look to the sky. Ji Yuolin was still talking to Qin Lang when Father Zhao suddenly reminded her loudly. Everyone looked up and saw dozens of big green birds appearing in the dark clouds. Along with their screams, countless goblins dropped from 100 meters high. It felt like raindrops. Boom boom boom. Goblins are not tall, only 1.2 or 3 meters tall, but their vitality is extremely strong and their recovery ability is terrifying. Many goblins who broke their arms and legs did not encounter attacks in a short period of time and quickly stood up on their own, launching an attack on the nearest resident. Ah! Goblins have entered the city. Help! A woman screamed and ran away. Unfortunately, she was knocked down by the goblin with a stick. The sharpened barbed tail pierced directly into the woman's body. The woman immediately let out a miserable scream, and the instigator opened his hands and let out a weird laugh. Voice: there is no distinction between male and female goblins. Their genitals are tails, and they will lay eggs in the uterus of human women. Ji Yuolin's hands trembled. Dad, Zhao, take some people with me to clear out the goblins in the city, and the rest will guard the city wall. Eluo Bing roared, jumped down from a height of 30 meters, and after landing steadily, he continuously pulled the trigger and shot the approaching goblins in the head. Qin Lang followed behind Zhao Leo and shot the goblins with a rifle. The efficiency was surprisingly high. Before a box of bullets was finished, dozens of goblins were shot in the head one after another. Brother, Zioken is good at marksmanship. Have you learned the relevant talents? Father Zhao praised. Well, I haven't used it for a long time, so I'm a bit rusty. Otherwise I can be more accurate. Qin Lang replied calmly. He grabbed Jiuolin and used the butt of his gun to smash away a goblin who was trying to attack. These things are quite fast. Jiuolin, stand behind me and stay with Ziohen. They can protect you. What? Stay with cats? Aren't they your pets? Jiuolin was a little confused. As soon as she finished speaking, she saw Ziohen jump up and tear a goblin to pieces with one claw, and Xe, who was dedicated to being cute, finally had his place. He jumped like a boxer and swung his chubby fists to knock the goblins away. Where did you buy this cat and mushroom? They are so good at fighting. Can you help me get one? Zhao Leo dad was quite envious. There will be a chance. Qin Lang smiled. Luo Bing led the team to quickly clear the airborne goblins in the city, and at that time, the goblin army outside the city also arrived. While they were attacking the city wall, they used a tool similar to a trebuchet to throw the goblins into the city like cannonballs. Where are the snipers? Destroy their catapults. Luo Bing shouted. Aiming. The sniper pulled the trigger, and the trebuchet several hundred meters away exploded in the next second. Open fire. Fight to the death. Luo Bing commanded the battlefield, unaware that a man behind her showed a sinister smile. That's it. Keep the firepower, and never let them rush into the city. Luo Bing presided over the battle in an orderly manner, and gradually got into the game, but suddenly, she felt a dangerous breath behind her. Before she could react, she felt a sharp pain in her waist, and a dagger was inserted into her waist, and blood instantly stained her clothes red. The one who made the move was a plain-looking boy. The boy grinned. Go and be a breeding machine for the goblins. Bang. Luo Bing was kicked off the wall and fell headfirst. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.